We are on. Let me
ask him to listen. Yeah. So I think the rest of the speakers can mute when they are not speaking. Yeah. Good afternoon. I heartily welcome all the speakers, all the CSIR scientists from both CSIR and SETI, all the other CSIR scientists who have joined this occasion, and all the participants, students. Warm welcome to all of you for this iCEN event, which is on many electrolytes for fuel cells and other energy device application. This particular event, and let me just talk about briefly about the iCEN event.
Yeah.
This iCEN event is conceived 2 months back with a kind of an intention of having a kind of strong industry academia interaction. The fundamental idea or the fundamental basis and which these events were conceived is to have a kind of an enhanced industry and academia and research institution interaction. And this is, of course, I mean, as you know, that this is this particular event is organized by the Ministry of Science and Technology with what we call support from all the secretaries of the Science and Technology Ministry, geared by the principal scientific advisors and through the Government of India's mission. And this particular event, when it was considered of the industry connect, it is largely to have an interaction among the industry and the scientists to have an understanding about what research is happening in the institutions and what research is happening in the industry and where the kind of bridges and connects are to be made was the fundamental basis of this particular event. I'm so happy that and they planned in a manner that 75 events will be done as a kind of Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav celebrations of 75 years of independence. 75 such events have been done and are planned, and this is the kind of a 73rd event, which clearly means that all the other events have already been. One of the good things about this is two good things about it, and these all industry events are conducted on a kind of an internet platform where anyone can basically register and watch the programs even after the program is finished. Okay, and this is also basically available in the YouTube platform. That will give you a kind of an opportunity for you to recap or watch again and then listen to the lectures in case you are interested. So that I mean to get a kind of continued connect. And as far as I mean this particular topic is concerned, this as you know, I mean CSIR, which is organizing a few of these iconic events. One of the major initiatives of CSIR is in the field of domain of energy. And in fact, I mean, as you most of you have already, I mean, witnessed in the media, Dr. Kalai, who is the current Director General of this CSIR organization, has been spearheading the energy program, and she was the team director. I mean, just before she assumed the charge of the Director General, she was the team director of the energy what we call program, which is called as energy and energy devices, which is one of the 8 themes that CS have been pursuing. And the idea is to have a kind of a pooling of all the stakeholders in the domain of energy. Whether, I mean, today we are talking about on the brains for fuel cells and energy devices. Likewise, there are many other energy topics. Like, I mean, today, if some of you must have seen, just a few minutes back, the Rajya Sabha passed the bill of renewable energy using both green hydrogen and biomass, as well as what we call this particular the initiative, which was a kind of a landmark bill, which is passed today. It's also a kind of a great reflection of contributing alternative energy sources, which are going to be having the kind of either carbon neutrality or a carbon positive energy. So with this, I mean, this particular event, which is on the similar lines, membrane electrolytes, fuel cells, and for the energy devices, this is, I must say, fuel cells, membranes, and CSAR. There's been a kind of a significant connect, as you can, some of you have witnessed about the devices, the prototypes which was made, whether it was a car, which is a fuel cell driven car, and very recently fuel cell driven buses. And these are all a kind of a classic demonstration, a good beginning for us to take it forward. But what is missing in all these components, in all the what you call discussions that we generally have, is about the indigenization of the components. And in the there are many components are there when you are making the fuel cell stacks. And of the meetings, one of the significant two major components are very critical in it. One is on membranes, and the other one is on catalysis. Catalyst to be precise. These two materials, one has to have a kind of an indigenous development, an indigenous prototype demonstration. Completely, I mean, using the catalyst which is developed by the Indian scientists and by the Indian researchers, and also the membranes. So this is one of the bigger challenge that we are all currently having. There are some competence and expertise have developed over the last few years, especially on the energy, applications on the membranes. And some of the discussions today we are going to have, both from the industry and the academia, is going to lead these particular effort in the next coming years of discovery for making a kind of completely indigenous fuel cell driven devices which are going to be used for the diverse application, leave alone for the transportation sector. So I also found from the speakers list, very pertinent stakeholders are there. I mean, a company which is kind of a domain on fluorochemicals and fluoropolymers, which are extremely critical for membrane preparations. And also, I mean, industry will definitely going to take a kind of initiation and making ionizing membranes, supported by a kind of research scientists who are working on different kinds of membranes as well as catalytic materials. And I am very happy that this is one of the very few events, iconic events, where two institutions are combined working together for conceptualizing and then coming out to the event. So I sincerely appreciate the coordinators from both CSIR SECRI and CSIR CRL for their excellent conceptualization of this particular program. I wish this program begins with a kind of intent that at least in a couple of years down the line, this program show some of the seeds which is going to be seen as a kind of a small tree in the years to come. With this, I once again welcome you all for this particular iconic event, and I wish all the participants a great learning. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for your introductory remark and enlightening us on energy sectors, what we need to do. We need indigenous components like membrane catalysts should be developed and should jointly work on that area. And before in this session, actually, we have 7 presentations, 2 from industry and 4 from CSIR laboratories and 1 from academic institution. So before starting the technical presentation, our first speaker is Dr. Jet Ejectors. Before inviting him to deliver his presentation on future of polymer and green hydrogen and fuel cells, I will introduce him with you. Dr. Ejectors did his PhD from St. Petersburg State University, Russia. He has 15 years experience in quality control and quality assessment, research and development. He is presently working with Gujarat Electrochemical Selectivity as Deputy General Manager in R&D section. With the brief introduction, I will request Dr. Ejectors to deliver. Over to you, Dr. Ejectors.
a view on the green hydrogen fuel cells aging and then on-growth dimension. So I share my presentations.
Dr. Rathod, kindly share your slides. You can see your slides. Hello?
Cracking. Dr. Rathod, your voice is cracking.
Can you in between next presentation?
Dr. Rathod, I mean, you solve it at your end. There is some technical issue. Your voice is also cracking, and your presentation is not seen. There is some technical glitch at your side. Send a message to Rathod. Asking to join from the device.
Yes. Is my slides visible to everyone?
Put it in slide. Put it in slide.
Dr. Santosh?
Yes, ma'am.
Is my slide visible to you?
Yes, ma'am. It's visible.
Yeah. So, I
Yes,
will
sir.
first present and Dr. Rathod
Yeah.
he can join another device.
Okay,
So,
okay, no problem.
I'm Umar Chatterjee, working as principal scientist at CSIR. I have been
Okay.
here for last 10 years, and I mainly work on membranes for water and energy application. I did my PhD from Indian Association for the Cultivation of Science. Then I did 2 years postdoctoral research at the College of Polymer Science and Engineering, University of Electron. After that, I worked for the DRDO NMR for 3 years as a scientist. And after that, I moved to CSNCRI, and for the last 10 years, I am working on membranes. Now, my talk will be focused on charge membrane-based beam technologies for water and energy application. So, CSNCRI is one of the 36 laboratories of under CSIR, which is located in the coastal area of Gujarat, that is in Bhavnagar. And Bhavnagar, this institute is working only on extraction of chemicals from marine resource. We also work on membrane for different separation applications, starting from water desalination to industrial separation to energy sector. We also work on seaweed cultivation. So, since CSNCRI is mainly working on membrane area, here I will be talking on the charged membrane, which are used for water desalination, energy application, as well as separation of inorganics from organic medium. So ion-exchange membranes are actually dense membrane and classified as an exchange membrane and anion exchange membrane depending on the charge moiety present on the membrane surface. So cation exchange membrane contains negative charge on the membrane surface, allows the passage of cation and rejects the passage of anion. Similarly, anion exchange membrane contains positive charge on the membrane surface, allows the passage of anion and rejects the passage of cation. A good ion exchange membrane should be having high current selectivity, low electrical resistance, high ion exchange capacity, low mass transfer, good mechanical and dimensional stability, and high chemical stability. The ion exchange membranes can be used for the different application, starting from the water desalination to prepare mineral valence drinking water, electrodeionization to produce pure water, separation of inorganics from organic mixture, water electrolysis, hydrogen production, by water splitting, by hydrolyzing salt to generate acid and alkali by using bipolar electrolysis, fuel cell and renewable energy. Another industrial applications to separate salt and food biotechnology and downstream processes wherein the food product contains salt. So CSNCRI is mainly engaged in the preparation of ion exchange membrane. We have interpolymer, polyethylene interpolymer based ion exchange membrane, which we have prepared by melt extrusion process. This is scalable membrane. So cation exchange membrane is prepared from the interpolymer of polyethylene and styrene divinyl. Once the polymer is prepared, it is converted into thin film of thickness 150 to 160 micron. And then once the film is prepared, that negative charge on the membrane surface is introduced by chloromethylation reaction in chlorosamic acid and diphenol mixture. So this is the digital image of anion exchange membrane. Anion exchange membrane is prepared by interpolymer of polyethylene and methyl styrene divinyl engine. Then once the polymer is prepared, it is also converted to thin film of thickness 150 to 160 micron, and then that benzylic bromination of this interpolymer film is carried out, and then that positive charge is introduced by dipping that brominated film into trimethylamine mixture, and this is the digital images of the anion exchange membrane. So the physical properties such as water uptake and electrical properties such as ion exchange capacity, aerial resistance, and selectivity of this membrane, cation and anion exchange membrane have been determined and compared with the commercial vacuum membrane and anion exchange membrane from Neosepta to Tokyo membrane. And our properties are close to the commercial membrane. The technology for the membrane preparation has been transferred to Mazda Limited, Ahmedabad. This is patented, and Mazda will start manufacturing the membranes very soon. So these membranes are used for the water desalination by electrolysis to provide drinking water in a village, Hato, which is 20 kilometers away from Bhanamur, and it is located in coastal area. It is the process which can be operated by solar power. So the village Hato has the population around 1,000 to 1,200 people. So the PBs of the area generally 1,000 to 1,300 ppm, and it increases up in the summer season. So they are benefited by these plants. And this EV plant is also suitable to remove additionally contaminated arsenic and fluoride ions present in the water by electrolysis and with salt. We have tested the performance using feed water sample from Rajasthan district, where there was the very high fluoride concentration 14.4 ppm, and in the final water we could reduce the fluoride concentration less than 1.5 ppm, so which is the limit as per the WHO. Now, this electrolysis unit is used to produce treatment of industrial effluent wastewater sample from Netra NTPC. The Netra NTPC water has a TDS of 1939. So we have installed 3 units of 80 by 40 centimeter capacity with 120 celsius of membrane. And final flow of the unit is 1100 liter per hour. And final TDS of the water we achieve 400 milligram per liter. Actually, they run the unit 8 hours per day, and we have installed a electrolysis reversal switch. So that is started beginning of the plant for 15 minutes. So since the wastewater contains the bivalent, a huge amount of bivalent calcium, magnesium, and sulfate iron, so state formation occurs. So we don't need to clean the membrane by opening the unit. So after running the switch for 3 minutes, the polarity is changed. Cathode is changed to anode, and anode is changed to cathode. And then we throw the water, and the membrane is cleaned automatically. Then they start run the unit, and they collect the water for 8 hours. So this plant has been installed in April 2022 and running well. Now the membranes, what we have prepared interpolymer based membranes, they are useful for the conversion of low value potassium salt, that is potassium chloride to high value potassium salt, that is potassium sulfate or potassium nitrate by metathesis electrodialysis using iCEN membrane. So metathesis electrodialysis, this is actually 4-flow system where like electrodialysis, anion exchange membrane and cation exchange membranes are placed alternatively. The flow of the 4 chambers are separated by placing the gasket. So there is no chance of mixing of one component to another. So after the reaction is over, we can take out the compartment. Now, for the conversion of KCl to KNO3 or K2SO4, KCl is sprayed in the compartment 1, and sodium nitrate is sprayed in compartment 3, and compartment 2 and 4, water is filled. So with time, ion stars, electricity will pass, ion will start to migrate, and in the compartment 2, product NaCl will be enriched, and compartment 4, potassium nitrate or potassium sulfate will be enriched. So after taking out the potassium nitrate or potassium sulfate, it can be dried by solar power, and then crystallized salt can be produced. The efficiency, the purity of the salt was more than 99%, and we could convert the 9% of the potassium chloride by this process. So we have signed an MOU with Fortis India Private Limited Hyderabad to convert that KCl to K2SO4, and we have to set up a 100 liter per day capacity plant at their site. We have also received project from BRNAs where they generate ammonium nitrate as waste during extraction of uranium from mineral rocks. So we have concentrated their ammonium nitrate concentration is around 20,000 to 30,000 ppm. So we have concentrated this ammonium nitrate to 80,000 ppm by electrodialysis. We also converted this ammonium nitrate to value-added potassium nitrate by metathesis electrodialysis process. So now we have also the membranes for by which have been prepared by solution casting method. We have prepared PVDF-based cation and anion exchange membrane on fabric support for water desalination by electrolysis as well as by diffusion dialysis. So anion exchange membrane is prepared from the polymer of methyl methacrylate and chloromethyl styrene, and then the polymer is mixed with PVDF in the ratio of 30:70 weight by weight and casted on non-woven fabric by plating process. And then the functional group is introduced in the membrane by treatment with tertiary methyl dynamic hexane. Cation exchange membrane is prepared from the copolymer of methyl methacrylate and styrene sulfuric acid, and this copolymer contains sulfuric acid moiety, so we don't need any post-sulfuration reaction. Then copolymer is mixed with PVDF, and that membrane is cast by immersion process. So this is patented and supported by publication. We have also another type of membrane which is prepared from polyphenylene oxide. It was first dominated and then quaternized with N-methyl-4-carbonate. This membrane was used for the recovery of acid from metal salt mixture by electrolysis. This is a sport-free membrane, and it is prepared by solution casting method. Once the acid is recovered by diffusion dialysis process, it can be concentrated by electrodialysis. And this membrane is useful to separate HCl, nitric acid, and sulfuric acid from their metal salt mixture. We have also another kind of membrane prepared from acrylonitrile 9-imidazole copolymer. It is a cross-linked membrane. This membrane is also very useful to separate acid from their metal salt mixture. This is coated by publication and taking. Now, mineral base water is required very needed because in the RO process, RO is removing everything. So if we can introduce without external addition of salt from outside, if you can retain bivalent calcium, magnesium, iron with the water, that could be very good for our health. So these are the ideal salt concentration which should be in the drinking water. So we have synthesized, we have made synthetic solution of 2939 with the following iron specification. Then we have desalinated the water by RO and by ED, and we have purposely reduced the water for RO pressure on for RO process. We have run with ED process, and in this case, actually, we have modified the electrodialysis membrane, polyethylene interpolymer membrane with polyaniline, so that we have just cured the transport phenomena of chloride and sulfate, so that sulfate can be retained and chloride can be removed easily. So we have developed a prototype of 15 to 20 liter per hour for this process, and we have determined power consumption for this process. And you can see that membranes, so modified membranes, which were modified by polyaniline coating, can retain the calcium, magnesium, sulfate. So unique feature is that the minerals can be retained, so no need of external addition of nutrients. Water recovery for the process is very high, 65%, and the operation process is very simple. Layman can operate, and membrane stability is very high. And we can also introduce alkaline water by tuning the pH, operating potential. We have also developed the process for the preparation of ultra pure water, maybe mineral different kind of DM water from 10 megaohm to 18.2 megaohm, depending on the application purpose. So these interpolymer-based ion exchange membranes are very useful. In between the ion exchange membrane, mixed phase resins are used. So we have compared the performance of the unit with commercial liquid unit. Our specification of the water is as per the millipore, and we have also developed a system of 50 liter per hour capacity of ultra-pure water production. The advantage of our unit is that millipore, once your cartridge is not working, we have to throw, but ours is a plate and frame model. So only we need to change the resin only. And sometimes if the membrane is broken, then we need to replace the membrane. But hardware component will be remain same. And we can also modify. We can, depending on our choice, resistivity we require. We can set our resistivity of water 10 megaohms to 8 megaohms. So we can control the flow of the unit also. So and fuel cell, our system is working on fuel cell. So we have developed membranes for fuel cell and energy applications. But mostly fuel cell was going to be covered by Dr. Shams from C3. But here I will mention a few of these. So currently used by proton exchange membrane used commercially, that is Natrion. But Natrion have limitation of very expensive and very high methanol permeability. And membrane performance uses after 80 degrees centigrade. As our director said, mentioned, we need to do indigenous technology. So we need to develop indigenous membrane for our purpose. So CSNCRI developed prepared polyadenine ethanol-based anion exchange membrane for hydroxyl stability. And we have actually varied how the change of amine can be varied and how the fuel cell performance of the membrane can be varied. So a series of membranes are prepared and use the conductivity also we have checked in by dipping in molar NaOH at 70 degree for different time period, and we have used this fuel cell stack. You can see that 0.181 volt open circuit voltage we could achieve. And when the having the long LT loop, that membrane is more stable and giving the higher result. We have also worked on the composite membrane, sulfonated polyether sulfone based and sulfonated molybdenum sulfide based composite membrane for methanol, direct methanol fuel cell application. The membranes are tested by SIPRI. So it was the collaborative one. We also prepared some proformated membrane from sulfonated polyethylene oxide and sulfonated boron nitride composite membrane for direct methanol application. In this case also, you can see that if you can see the polarization curve and methanol permeability, the methanol permeability reduced when the loading of boron nitride is increased, and then we can achieve a high cell voltage with these membranes. So for hydrogen generation, actually CSNCRI, Dr. D.K. Sai worked on with NDC Energy Center, and through collaborative research project, he developed a membrane for Bunsen reaction. Bunsen reaction generally is a common reaction to produce general hydrogen, but this reaction requires high temperature because melting point of iodine is 130 degrees centigrade. But if we use membrane as barrier, this reaction can be conducted at low temperature, room temperature, with less amount of energy. So this is the reaction happening at anode and cathode side. So what we did, we have taken HI and iodine in one compartment and H2SO4 and sulfur dioxide another compartment. Membrane has been placed in between, and then at a particular current density, hydrogen will start produce, and then it will react with iodine, and HI will concentration will build up. So indirectly, we have measured the concentration of HI and H2SO4, and from there we can calculate how much hydrogen is generated through this process. These are the equations used to generate how much electricity required, how much acid produced at cathode or anolyte. So this is the actual membrane indigenous we developed from the PVDF4HF. This is commercially available. First it was treated with NOH, and then double has been generated. Then acrylamide of propane sulfonic acid was grafted into the, and membrane has been casted on glass plate. So grafting, depending on grafting density, this membrane is showing the base performance SCP 1.33, and this was used for the water splitting reaction at different current density. So at particular each current density, how much acid has been developed has been calculated, and also current efficiency anolyte and cathodite side reaction has been calculated. You can see the concentration of acid produced at electrolyte, that is H2SO4, is almost double to HI in concentration, and which should be theoretically 2 times. So it is also supporting that our calculation. Another type of membrane has been developed for these water sweeping phenomena. PVDF4HF was first sulfonated in presence of chlorosulfuric acid, and then this sulfonated PVDF4HF was blended with different amount of sulfonated graphene oxide, and then composite membrane was developed. The membrane is showing good acid and hydrolytic stability, and that morphology is also clear. This membrane was also used to see the water splitting phenomena by at different current density, and we have also calculated the amount of acid produced, and in this case also the membrane is showing very good potential to be used for hydrogen generation by Bunsen reaction. So in conclusion, I mentioned that indigenously generated polyethylene based cation analysis membrane has been developed by CSNCRI, which has been used for water desalination by electrolysis, for metathesis electrolysis to prepare high value potassium salt, pure water production for by liquid ionization. We have also prepared some solution phase casting process membrane for diffusion dialysis or for water desalination. We have also membrane for hydrogen generation by water splitting. Thank you very much for your kind attention, and I'll be happy to answer if there is any question. Hello. Just one second. Hello. Hello. Am I audible?
Yes, yes.
Yes. If there is no slide, can we move to the next presentation?
I think Dr. Vishal has raised his hand. So
Yeah. Dr. Vishal?
Yeah, ma'am, thank you very much for the nice presentation and overview about the overall activity of different types of membranes for different application. I have a little bit doubt on this the slide where you mentioned the desalination and purification of the water. So membrane been used. So what is the
Yeah.
reusability of this membrane, and can it be used multiple times also?
Yeah. That the plan which have been installed in Hacker Village, that is running for more than 3 years. And that membrane life is very high. After at least 3 years, you will get the stability. Continuously you can operate. And after that, 30% membrane you can release. This is the stable membrane.
About cleaning, whether we can clean it or purify the membrane and can be used again?
Yeah, clean it. And that's why I have just showed that NTPC work, what we have done, that is by electrolysis reversal. We don't need to clean the membrane. So what we have done, that we have put that electrolysis reversal switch, and that unit, that switch is on for 15 minutes. So that time it will circulate the water, and it will be captured and captured into anode. So if there is a scale formation on the membrane surface, then you wash out. So what you have to do, you have to throw that amount of water, and then you start your unit, and it will be giving the result. So you don't need to open the unit, clean the membrane by acid.
What about the scalability of this membrane, madam?
Yeah, it is scalable. It is scalable. We have the capacity of extruder, which and we can prepare per day 4.5 kg polymer per batch. So it is scalable.
Thank you, madam. Thank you very much.
Dr. Rathod? Hello?
Thank you, madam. Thank you very much.
So our next speaker is Dr. Santosh Kumar Bhatt. So before inviting him for his presentation, I will introduce him with you all. Dr. Santosh Kumar Bhatt received his PhD in polymer chemistry in 2007 from Karnataka University, Dharwad. He is presently working as senior principal scientist at CSIR Madras Unit, Chennai. His research interests include membrane electrolytes for fuel cells, organic electrocatalyst support for fuel cells, and internal humidification in fuel cells. He has led various major mission-driven projects of DST, CSIR, and currently on fuel cells in collaboration with industries like Reliance, KPIT, and Alkaline. He has more than 100 publications and 3 patents granted to his credit, and has covered 7 PhD and 3 MTech students. He has also mentored postdoctoral students at CSIR. He is the recipient of various prestigious awards, which include CSIR Scientist Required Skill Fellowship 2007, CSIR Young Scientist Award 2013, and Outstanding Electromist from Venus Research Foundation 2007. With this brief introduction, I will request Dr. Santosh Kumar Bhatt to deliver the
Yeah. Good afternoon, everyone, and many thanks, Dr. Uma, for the kind introduction. And at the outset, I would like to thank the organizers of iCEN-73, who have arranged a wonderful event which showcases all class of technologies available in India, and also the Industry Connect, which is very, very critical to showcase this technology, to have a good connect between industry and research institution. These events are very, very important. So my talk would be on membrane electrolytes. To continue with what Dr. Uma was mentioning about various facets of membranes for various applications. So fuel cell is one of the application, which is a very important application for membrane electrolytes. So I would be discussing on that. And if time permits, I would be also showcasing few of the fuel cell technologies which has been commercialized and which is having a connect with the industry. So let me share my presentation. Is the slide visible? Is the slide visible, ma'am?
It is visible. It is visible.
Yeah. I'm audible, right?
Yeah, you are audible.
Yeah. Thanks, ma'am. So my talk would be mainly focusing on membrane electrolytes for fuel cell application. So outline of my presentation would be to introduce polymer electrolyte fuel cells to the community. And then we have functionalized certain carbon nanostructures to form a composite membrane, which will be useful as electrolyte for hydrogen-based fuel cell as well as direct methanol fuel cells. So I will touch upon a few of the aspects of that. And then how the composite membrane will be taken to full cell level, and we do the IV characteristics to understand the property of ionic conductivity and various forms of electrochemical selectivity. I will touch upon that and then summarize with technology advances in fuel cells. So these are a few of the technology developed at CSIR, and as we all are aware that we have a multidisciplinary expertise in the area of catalysts, electrodes, membranes, and stack engineering, which will cover throughout the gamut of information regarding COMSOL, CFD, and water management. And then there we have a state-of-art facilities for fuel cells, and we also cater the needs of public-private mode partnerships. And then we work on polymer electrolyte fuel cells, which is based on hydrogen and direct methanol fuel cell, on multi-cell system development as well as demonstration. And we also have IP know-how available and technology transfer we have done to various industries. So it's very, very important to have this connect to understand various forms, various fundamentals of materials which is used in fuel cells. And our expertise includes catalyst and catalyst support, membrane, and to all the way to membrane electrode assembly to stack engineering. And also we have recently demonstrated, these are few of the examples where we have demonstrated 3 kilowatt LTPFC system and in tie-up with industry. And then we have also demonstrated high temperature polymer electrolyte fuel cells. And also we have recently developed 10 kilowatt fuel cell prototype in a vehicular platform in collaboration with industry. So it's very important to understand what is the basic criteria for fuel cell, because when we consider the hydrogen based fuel cell, it's simply to put up it's a hydrogen as a fuel can oxidize at the anode, and then oxygen as an oxidant can reduce at the cathode. And the basic advantage here is you have a power output, and then byproduct is only water. That means you can go with zero emission. So that's very important. So then it can vary, the temperature you can vary from 60 to 180 degrees centigrade, which ends up in good advantage in terms of high energy density, fast startup in comparison to other fuels, clean energy, and zero pollution. So this is very, very important to understand. And as far as other fuels are concerned, there are various fuels applicable for niche applications. For example, if you consider direct methanol fuel cells, so where methanol can be directly injected at the anode in place of hydrogen. And this can be used for niche applications where you need not worry about hydrogen storage. So methanol can be easily carried and used as a fuel. So this has one distinct advantage compared to hydrogen. So these areas, the research focuses on to develop membrane electrolytes. There are several research challenges in terms of membrane electrodes. One is to improve the ionic transport and also to improve the electrochemical selectivity. So once we understand the electrochemical selectivity, the balance between the conductivity and the permeability overall, so then we can form a very stable and durable membrane. Okay. So we also do work on alkaline polymer electrolyte fuel cells, where again the challenges are very unique and also advantages are very unique. So where we can make use of non-noble based catalysts like iron, silver, and nickel, so which can cater the needs of alkaline polymer electrolyte fuel cell. But there are certain challenges, major limitation like CO2, the air which has CO2 can poison the catalyst as well as membrane. So very important to develop a membrane, a stable membrane to overcome these issues. Okay. So there are very important two components involved in, as I've earlier said, in membrane electrode assembly. One is membrane, where Nafion is a monopoly. So Nafion polymer electrolyte fuel cell is a monopoly now. So Nafion has been used as a state-of-art electrolyte. So major challenge is to address the facets of Nafion and mimic the characteristics of Nafion to develop alternate membranes, alternate polymer electrolyte membranes to overcome the drawbacks of Nafion, as well as other synthesis protocols, which is very difficult in Nafion. So that's very important to develop an indigenous membrane. So as Dr. Uma was suggesting about various membranes developed for various applications, this fuel cell indigenous membrane is also very important. So because majorly, if you see compare the overall cost of the system, the major component is membrane and catalyst. So that is where the research part comes in, and that's where the research has to progress. Okay, so when we overall see the holistic picture of membrane electrode assembly, so you have to have a good interface between electrode and electrolyte. The unique characteristics of the membrane are very important. So one is ionic conductivity, which is very critical, and one is to restrict the fuel crossover, which is again critical in polymer electrolyte fuel cell. So we work on two membranes here. So when we compare the examples of Nafion based membrane for fluorosulfonic acid based membrane, as well as sulfonated polyether ether ketone membrane, there are certain subtle differences. So we have to consider the wide channel effect. We have to consider the narrow channel effect. So each and every polymer can be advanced to various stages where we can apply these polymers to work as electrolyte in polymer electrolyte fuel cells. So one such typical mechanisms which can do the ionic transport is on Groth's mechanism or Weichel mechanism. Any of the mechanisms can follow in these membranes. So we need to choose a correct mechanism where it can transport the protons in a facile manner. So for this, the basic material or forming a composite is very critical. So carbon nanomaterial is one such material where research has been going on to have a composite electrolyte for polymer electrolyte fuel cell, because it has remarkable thermal and mechanical properties, low density, high surface area, various particular carbon nanostructures has various unique properties. To understand this has a composite is very critical. So for example, when we consider the fullerene, for example, so it has radical scavenging property. So it's very important in polymer electrolyte fuel cell scenario to cache in, right? So when you consider multi-mode carbon nanotube, it has low aspect ratio. When we consider graphene oxide, it has methanol barrier properties where you can restrict the methanol crossover while adding this composite. So very important to understand these composites. So we have worked on those issues recently, and we have been able to functionalize these carbon nanostructures, because so many of the research focus is on functionalizing carbon nanostructure, because anything over the threshold limit has a certain electrical conductivity feature in carbon nanomaterials. To understand or overcome these features, so we need to functionalize these materials to have this in balance. So we have done sulfanic acid diazotization route. We have also done unzipping of multi-mode carbon nanotube and in situ adsorbing sodium dodecyl sulfate into that to induce the sulfonic acid groups onto these carbon nanomaterials. And then also when we unzip the carbon nanotubes, then you have a super acid, chlorosulfonic acid, to cache in, and then you diazotize again, and then you have a beautiful graphene quantum dots of 2 to 5 nanometer onto the surface of graphene nanoribbons, so that it forms an overall composite. So once we do that, we characterize with various means. So there are various forms of functionalizing carbon nanomaterials. As I have already told, that unzipping is one of the factor, surface functionalization is the other factor. Also, we can form an adduct in a graphene oxide where we can cache in the advantage of aspartic acid, or the way of making a functionalization route is very important, because when we have an in situ radical polymerization, for example, a monomer of polystyrene sulfonate can be targeted, and we can in situ polymerize it by certain initiator, potassium persulfate we can add, and then we see the unique differences in the characterization, and then we see the important interaction over the membrane electrolyte. One is a zwitterion interaction, and then is a hydrogen bond interaction. So very important to note that in a composite membrane, it is very difficult to get a chemical interaction. So we need to functionalize the additive in such a way that there the chemical interaction is strong, and then when we physically hydrogen bonding interaction takes place in the polymer, then you have an overall interaction superior compared to the bare membrane. So this is what we have been doing. And then there are various ways to characterize it. One is the typical way of seeing the graphene nanostructure change is through high resolution M, so where we can see the unzipping of carbon nanostructures, and also we do take care of Raman, where we can overcome the various forms of carbon, where we can see the D band, G band, 2D ratio. Then we can work on various defect forms of carbon also. Then when we see the FTIR, you can see all types of surface functional groups involved. So these are the proof where these carbon materials can be characterized by these proofs. And then we can also see the unique interaction between the membrane. And then we also characterize with so XPS also we characterize with TGA, where we can see the decomposition losses of sulfonic acid. Then it indirectly conveys the amount of grafting of sulfonic acid groups into the carbon additive. And also when we see the S2P peak, we can qualitatively convey that S2P peaks are there. So XPS can qualitatively convey that carbon material is ready for addition to the polymer matrix. So when we do this, then you can form a membrane, and the membrane formation is again simple. So when we have a required amount of additive, functionalized additive, and then you disperse in DMAC, dimethyl acetamide, and then you have a polyether ether ketone or an anion, and then you composite it, and then you place it in a plexiglass plate in a vacuum, and then you create a membrane. So once it is formed, then you can see the interaction between the additive and the membrane by various physicochemical properties. One is AFM, where we can see the distribution of the particles, nanotubes into the membrane, and one is SEM, or you can also notice the distribution of additive in the membrane. And then major point is ionic conductivity, where we can see the activation energy for ionic transport, where we see the conductivity in relation to temperature. And then when we also see the mechanical property of the membrane, which is very, very critical. So when we do the mechanical property, so when we do the tensile strength, you can see the mechanical strength of the membrane in terms of elongation, in terms of stress applied. And then we have a stress bar strain curve, where we see the overall mechanical property of the composite change in compared to pristine membrane. So we do the cell, we don't stop it there. So we do the overall cell testing. So single cell cell polarization is very, very important. So we do testing in a single cell, and then we do IV characteristics. So this is the cell assembly where we see the comparison. So when we do this indigenous membrane, always we compare with the state-of-art commercial membranes. So we compared here with Nafion 212 membranes, where we can see that indigenous membrane are reaching the stage where the Nafion 212 is, and we believe that with further improvement, this can be even on par with the commercially available membrane. So we also do durability study. So when we do the polarization study, durability of the membrane is very, very critical. So we do the durability study at various time intervals, and then see the open circuit voltage degradation. And also we do the hydrogen crossover study at various hours of operation. And then we also do to see the resistance in the membrane, we also do the electrochemical impedance spectroscopy, so where we understand the various resistance in the membrane. Okay, so once we do this, and we also, yes. Yeah. So we also do conductivity and methanol permeability to understand the electrochemical selectivity. So in direct methanol fuel cell, which is very important. So once we do this, then we get a proper electrochemical selectivity and generate a concentration profile. So once the concentration profile is generated, you can go for direct methanol fuel cell study, where the similar membrane can be targeted for direct methanol fuel cell, where we see the performance IV characteristics. So these are some of the important characterization we do. So before we do the direct methanol fuel cell IV characteristics, we also do the methanol crossover through linear sweep, where we measure the methanol oxidation current, where we again notice that what are the composite membrane which can tolerate this, and how the methanol oxidation current can be minimized at the cathode. So we understand this by doing the linear sweep. And then we also do the study with respect to electrochemical selectivity, where we balance the conductivity and permeability. So this is very, very critical to understand the overall durability of the system. So we worked on like that. We worked on various forms of membranes. Like we have added a lot of carbon nanostructures to understand the membrane properties in hydrogen-based fuel cell or direct methanol fuel cells. And very recently, we have also functionalized single-walled carbon nanohorn in sulfonated polyether ether ketone, which has given a tremendous impact in direct methanol fuel cell. First time in the literature, we are proving that these membranes can give 250 milliwatt per centimeter square in a single cell in a direct methanol fuel cell mode. So we have done a unique characterization here where we see the distribution through X-ray tomography and measure various forms of characteristics in terms of conduction, in terms of methanol permeability, and then we get a maximum power density at 80 degrees centigrade, which is very, very important. So earlier membranes, so at higher temperature, working is also very important in these membranes. So also very recently, again, we have done MCM41 based composite membranes of polyether ether ketone, where we could get a very durable membrane, and also we have compared with Nafion 117 state of art for direct methanol fuel cell, where we could get higher performance compared to Nafion 117 membrane. So this is very, very important. So the composite membranes in terms of carbon nanostructures, in terms of zeolites, in terms of mesoporous materials, these additives has given a unique advantage to these materials, and we can prove that these materials will be used in these fuel cells. So and also we have worked on alkaline polymeric fuel cell membranes. So with the interest of time, I will just highlight the polymer which we have used. So we have used the polyphenylene oxide membrane, and then we have catered the vacant positions where aryl substitution is possible. So once the aryl substitution is possible, then automatically you end up forming a stable membrane. So we have cauterized that, and then we formed an anion exchange membrane. And instead of benzyl positions, so direct aryl positions through the cauterization is possible, and then we have done it, and then we have formed various forms of membrane. So overall, to summarize that, so advanced PFC technology is very, very important. So we need to develop a low-cost electrocatalyst development, which Dr. Vishal will be explaining in his presentation, and also in improved membrane electrode assembly via various forms of electrode engineering, which we are doing in hydrogen mission project. Just now sanctioned hydrogen mission project for all the umbrella of 11 labs. And then we also work on alternate polymer electrode membrane, which is very, again, important compared to Nafion. We have to develop an indigenous membrane. And then with respect to fuel cell stack is concerned, we have high pressure operation to be done, and which can have a better impact on water and thermal management. So these are the things which we will be doing, and then which eventually will lead to improved stack assembly with uniform compression and contact. So we are presently working in a entire hydrogen ecosystem. This is very, very important. So we are presently working with DST, with our sister lab, to develop an entire hydrogen ecosystem which covers hydrogen generation, storage, transportation, and hydrogen utilization, where we are developing an open cathode fuel cell technology, which is very unique, where the air can act as an oxidant as well as coolant, so which will minimize most of the BOP components involved in fuel cells. So that's where the MEA challenges come in. So we are developing those MEAs for that. So these are some of the, just to highlight the events of hydrogen technology in India. So we have successfully demonstrated the prototype fuel cell car. So CSIR with KPIT industry, so successful trial runs are taken. And also we have demonstrated high temperature PEMFC based combined cooling and power system and unveiled in presence of former President of India. And also very recently we have launched India's first indigenous fuel cell bus during December 2021, which has 32 kilowatt fuel cell stack. So this is the way where CSIR is catering the needs of the industry, and this industry connect is a very good platform to showcase these events. So thanks to the fuel cell team for this opportunity. And the worldwide status, if you see the fuel cell technology, still long way to go, right? So when we see the vehicle size, or when we see the short distance wide use or medium to long distance use, so this is where the fuel cell can come in. For example, when we go for a two-wheeler or a four-wheeler application, the hybrid systems can work. Or when we go for a heavy duty applications, the fuel cell can work. So this is where the Indian scenario is. And then when we have targets are also very, very challenging. The cost is the major issue. So the cost has to be reduced drastically to commercialize real fuel cell in India. So acknowledgement, financial assistance from Department of Science and Technology and Hydrogen Mission Project is acknowledged here. And I thank Director, Scientist in charge for the support, and thank all my research colleagues here for help and support. My research group, without them, this would have not been possible. So thanks. Finally, take away message, save energy. Thank you very much for the opportunity. If any questions, I would be happy to answer. Thank you.
Yes, so Dr. Bhatt, thank you so much for the nice presentation and giving so much information about the fuel cell. So I have some query here actually.
Yeah.
So I have some query related to a membrane, like when you are making composite of this membrane, like
Yes.
polymer membrane with the CNT or any kind of carbon materials.
Correct.
So so these carbon materials are basically electron conducting. So
Yes,
how
yes.
do you control the electron conductivity, which is not good for the fuel cell applications?
Yeah, that's a very important question.
Yeah.
So the most of the that should be within the threshold limit of your content addition. For example, when we have, that's where direct multi-walled carbon nanotube or graphene we don't add to the polymer, because it can conduct electrons, so which will be catastrophic again for the fuel cell. So what we do is we initially functionalize these additives to have a control on this electrical conductivity. Also, we limit the content within 2%, which is very well proven in the literature. So that's why we don't find any electrical conductivity issue in the overall membrane. What we do.
So basically, we have to play with the composition and the functionalization of this carbon materials.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and the second, like in the same query, like I have. So suppose, like we are developing so many membranes, and we are trying to bring it to the level of Nafion, and still Nafion is the champion membrane.
Yes.
So do you think like if we add some of this carbon content, functionalized carbon content to the Nafion membrane itself,
Yes.
so will it improve the activity or like proton conduction?
Yeah, of course it will improve, because but the Nafion, again, to add the Nafion is a bit expensive, right? I mean, we know that Nafion is a monopoly. So addition of carbon nanometrics to Nafion, commercially it may not be that viable, but of course it will improve the ionic conductivity definitely.
And up to what extent do you think like it will be improving?
Yeah, for example, we have a 0.1 Siemens per centimeter, any Nafion membrane if we consider. So then it can improve, like we can get around 150 millisiemens per centimeter.
150 millisiemens. Oh,
yeah,
that's a huge improvement, like 1.5 times, I think so.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. So this is what I was having questions.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Santosh. Thank you.
Dr. Rathod, you have some question?
Yes.
Dr. Rathod, you please ask. Hello? Dr. Rathod, are you audible?
I think there is a connectivity issue with him.
Yeah, connectivity issue. Dr. Rathod, you can discuss your questions with Dr. Santosh here. And I thank Dr. Santosh for a nice presentation and showing what iCEN-73 is doing on fuel cell activities. And I am very proud to be a CCI family. And once again from CSNCI, I thank Santosh for such a wonderful talk. Our next speaker is Mr. Parsi Abani. Before inviting him for the presentation, I will introduce you all with him. Mr. Parsi Abani is the director of Alkaline Limited, Ahmedabad, Gujarat. His presentation is title of presentation is Energy Conservative Range of Alkaline Limited for various industrial and commercial applications. Mr. Abani is a mechanical chemical engineer by profession, and he is the director of Mazda Limited for last 23 years. He has specialization in designing and engineering of steam ejector, vacuum systems, condensers, and refrigeration systems. He also has pursued his MBA degree specialization in finance from UC. With this brief introduction, I will invite Mr. Abani to deliver his presentation.
Good afternoon, ma'am, for such a wonderful introduction. Before starting the presentation, I would just like to brief you about Mazda Limited. Mazda Limited is a public limited company listed on the Bombay and the National Stock Exchange since 1994.
I think there is some connectivity.
And we are one of the few middle-sized companies to always have paid dividends to
Hello, you are not audible, Mr. Abani.
वही तो बोलो कि नहीं हो रहा था.
Yeah. Now we can.
Hello, can you hear me, ma'am?
Yeah. I can hear you.
You can hear. Okay. I will start again.
Yeah. Beginning. Can you please start from the beginning because I could not hear. From the beginning, start from the second slide.
Okay. So you have heard about Mazda, right? The public limited, all those things, and there are the verticals I have told you. So today we have said which could be related to today's discussions, and one of them is voice is breaking.
Mr. Avani, can you start your video?
Okay. I'm closer to the laptop. Now can you hear me?
Yeah.
Hello?
Yeah.
Hello, ma'am.
Yes,
Am I clear? Am I clear?
Yeah, you are clear.
Okay, so again, I'm saying for today's topics, we have selected two of our products which could be relevant for today's discussion. One of them is Zeta powered system and another is multiple nozzle high efficiency ejectors. So first we will talk about Zeta power systems, and the reason that we have selected this topic is because most of the industries suffer from the scaling that occurs in any water system, and the scaling that is usually caused by calcium sulfate, magnesium sulfate, or other biosulfate, and this retards the heat transfer to a very great extent in the process and chemical industries. Excuse me.
Can you start your video?
Hello.
Yeah, we can hear, but your voice is sometimes breaking.
Yeah, what to do? I am trying my best.
Can you turn off your video and continue?
Yeah, you can connect LAN. I don't know what. Kaushal.
I think if you have a slides, you can project. Sir can talk. I think there will be bandwidth problem.
Or maybe we can talk without the slide. What can I can hear you properly.
Sir, can you share your slides with the madam so that madam can present from their side?
Okay. I'll share it over email. Immediately.
I think it may solve out the problem.
Yeah.
Okay, but right now it's clear. We can proceed. I think.
Yeah. You can proceed.
Okay, so this is a Zeta power system. This is developed by us specially to avoid, not avoid, but to retard the scaling that is formed in a cooling water system. When there is scaling, there is a retardation in the heat transfer of any equipment like heat exchangers or reactors be it cooling or be it heating. But if there is scaling, there is a drop in the heat transfer, and due to that drop of the heat transfer, the plant efficiency reduces by 15 to 20%. So it's a big issue, and to overcome this issue, we have developed this new Zeta powered system. So this is the product that we are going to speak to today. So before proceeding, can you hear me?
Yes.
Can everyone hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah. So this Zeta is basically a rod which we with transformer which converts 90 to 110 watts of power to 35 kilowatt. It generates very high voltage. Any 90 to 40 volts is converted to 35 kilowatt by this transformer, special transformer that we have developed, and the rod is dipped into water or any cooling system. Now, because of this high voltage, there is a capacitive field developed in the vessel or in the pipeline in which the rod is immersed, and it energizes or it generates Zeta potential in those ions, basically calcium sulfate or magnesium sulfate, and it excites them to the sense that they vibrate to a very great extent and do not stick with one another and form a larger molecule, or do not stick to the walls of any heat transfer equipment. It could be tubes, it could be wall of a reactor, or it could be a cooling tower basin also. Is it clear till then?
Yeah.
Yeah, so it energizes or increases the Zeta potential of any ions, and because of that, these ions remain in suspension form in the water body and do not stick and do not form a film of scale on the tubes. And because of that, the heat exchangers remain clean and there is a very good heat transfer. Second thing is that even this high voltage kills the microorganisms present in the cooling tower basin and does not allow the biofilm to be formed in the cooling tower basin or on the fins of the cooling tower. Because of this, the approach temperature of the cooling tower increases, and you have a much lower temperature of water coming out from the cooling tower to your process equipment. So if the dew point temperature is say 29 degrees centigrade, you will definitely get 30 degrees, that is 2 degrees centigrade above the dew point temperature, wet bulb temperature, and you will have a good heat transfer. Otherwise, what happens is that scaling, of course, but biofilm also reduces the efficiency of the cooling tower, and instead of 30 degrees you start getting 32 degrees, 34 degrees cooling water, and this affects the heat transfer in any plant and reduces the reaction or reduces the batch time, which is detrimental for the plant. So this Zeta is a wonderful equipment in terms of ensuring that your pipes, your tubes, your cooling towers, everything remains clean. And the best part is that this is a very low power consuming equipment. It consumes only 40 watt at the most. So it is even less, the power consumption is even less than a normal electricity bulb also. So this Zeta increases the Zeta potential. It increases the colloidal repulsive force. There is a dispersion force, and because of that, the particles always remain in the scale forming or the biological film falling particles always remain in suspension. They don't stick. So this is by increasing the Zeta potential of colloidal particles and wetted surfaces, a strong dispersion force is created, which prevents particles from forming scale deposits. And scale is a very major issue in the industry. Second is that by eliminating the biofilm, the Zeta power system removes the primary glue that holds the scale in the place, causing the old scale also to remove and fall into the basin. So it removes, doesn't prevent newer film to be formed, and it removes the existing film also. Yeah, so this is just a chart. Can you see the slides that I'm sharing? Hello?
You are on the second slide.
Your slides are not moving.
So shall I proceed ahead?
Yeah.
Yeah, so this just shows that by introduction of the zeta, the repulsive, the repulsive force increases, and therefore the particles do not grow in size and they do not stick to one another. By that's the same. This shows how the zeta power helps in peeling off the scale and the biofilm. Again, you see, because of this zeta, the particles are positively charged. All the particles being positive charged, they repel each other. The same, both are positive, and therefore they do not stick to each other and do not form any large molecule which has a tendency to retard the heat transfer. This is how the biofilm is also removed or doesn't grow. So you see, before zeta and after zeta, how clean all the plate heat exchangers or the heat exchanger tube sheets become. This is online, and you don't have to stop your plant at all. It is online and continuous. Now, whenever you have a chiller, and in a chiller, if the temperature increases even by 1 degree centigrade, you have a drop in capacity by 10%. So it is very important to have clean and good temperature of cooling water. Now, this is a very important slide. Hello, can you hear, right?
Yeah.
So this zeta now has got a wonderful application for RO, reverse osmosis, because reverse osmosis has a tendency to get clogged with the scaling that comes. Normally the water is with high TDS, which enters in the RO, and every 15 days or a month, or maybe once in 45 days, depending upon the TDS, the RO have to be opened and they have to be cleaned. But because the scales stick to the film or membrane of the RO, but if you incorporate a zeta, they do not allow the scale formation to take place on the RO membrane, because of which the throughput of the RO increases and the life of the membrane also increases to a very great extent. And we really surprised, at the installations that we have done, we are surprised at the increase in the throughput of the existing RO. They have increased by, some cases they have increased by 14%, some cases they have increased by 12%, and the frequency of cleaning the membranes has also reduced drastically. So what happens is that the RO, you see, the size of the evaporator also on the downstream also reduces to a very great extent. This is how simple zetas are installed in the cooling tower basin. This installation can be one also and can be multiple also, depending upon the size of the cooling tower. So this is where I end one product. I'll be jumping to another product, which is another energy saving equipment. Hello? Hello?
Yeah. We can hear.
Okay, good. So this is about steam jet ejectors, and the fact that I have kept steam jet vacuum ejectors here is because mostly all the refineries, petrochemical, the pharmaceutical or chemical plants have operations under vacuum, and vacuum is generated by steam ejectors, and steam is very costly. So from energy conservation point of view, we have kept this product today. So this is a simple ejector. How it works: high pressure steam passes through the nozzle of the ejector. It creates very high velocity steam, and because of that high velocity steam which comes out of the nozzle of the ejector, all the surrounding process vapors get entrained or sucked by ejectors, and you have vacuum in the distillation column or in the evaporator or in the reactor. But this is a simple ejector. Now what we have developed is, we have developed these different type of ejectors. The first is the conventional single nozzle ejector, which is used everywhere till date. And like in cars, there is multi-pot fuel injection, the new from carburetor, multi-pot fuel injection is there. Likewise, in our ejectors, we have developed this multiple nozzle ejector, where the single large nozzle is broken up into 7 small nozzles, and you have 7 sprays of steam coming out of the ejector. And because of 7 sprays, the though small, but the cumulative surface area or contact area of the 7 small sprays is more than 15% compared to the large single nozzle spray of steam, and therefore you can entrain more amount of suction vapors, or in other words, you can consume 15 to 20% of less steam. And steam is very costly. It is 3 rupees a kg, or maybe 2.5 or 3.5. So even if you save 100 kgs of steam, you have savings running into crores of rupees a year. The third ejector that we have developed is that control valve is coupled with the steam ejector, and depending upon the turn down application, this spindle of the control valve moves inside out of the nozzle and reduces the cross section area of the nozzle and allows less or more amount of steam to pass through the ejectors when operating at part load conditions. Whenever clients or whenever plant people order equipments, they order equipments at 100% capacity, but it happens that at lower capacities the plant operates many a times. And if you do not have such type of installations, you unnecessarily keep on consuming higher amount of steam, though the plant is not running at 100% capacity. So these ejectors are developed by us specially for the Indian market, where the plant operates at lower than 100% capacity, and you have almost a linear saving in steam, which is again, as I said, very costly. So these large ejectors, as you can see, they have multiple nozzles equipped, and these save, I mean, the payback period of such ejectors is less than even 3 months in some cases. So the only reason not to sell, but to tell you how steam, because steam is very costly, can be saved. This is nothing to do with uh, energy saving, but we have kept this slide only to give you an idea about where ejectors are used. This is installation at in US, supplied by us from India, partly by us, where the vacuum is created in large domes, and in that vacuum chambers the rockets are fired to gauge the performance of the rockets or missiles when they operate in space, which is vacuum. So the ejectors have to not only maintain the vacuum in the large domes where they test fire the missiles or rockets, but has to also constantly suck the gas exhaust of the missiles and the rockets. And this is a wonderful example of make in India, and we are very proud. So that is why we have just kept the ejectors over here. You will see the car over here, a small car, and from there you can see the size of the ejector, how big the ejectors are. So just as a matter of pride that we have kept it here. All right, so I think my 15 minutes are over, and these two topics we have covered. If there are any questions, my colleague, I or my colleague Mr. Neeraj will be happy to answer them. Thank you.
Dr. Vishal?
Ma'am, yeah. Thank you, Percy sir, for giving an overview about the Mazda Limited and energy conservative range of the footprint of the Mazda, where you are working on so many other factors. So I like to know, do you have some numbers on this energy conservative, sir? How much is energy can be saved with these components if you can install
Of
each of the
ejectors, are you
components?
talking about ejectors, sir?
Yeah, the first part of the presentation.
First part is Zeta. Zeta.
Yeah, you have talked something about the energy conservation, no, sir, somewhere. Hello? Can you hear me, sir?
I think network issue with Mr. Percy. Hello?
Yes, ma'am.
I think there is some network problem from Mr. Percy. Neerajji, can you hear me? So you can contact Mr. Partha later on. You can write his email. His email ID is with me. I can share with you. And on behalf of this organizing committee, I thank Mr. Parsi Abani for briefing about the what Mazda Limited is doing towards energy conservation. And I am sure our colleagues from CSIR is watching, and if they require some kind of evaporator, they will definitely contact with Mazda Limited. Now we will move to our next talk. Our next speaker is Dr. J.K. Rathore. Before inviting him for the lecture, I will introduce you with all of you. Dr. Rathore is presently working as Deputy General Manager in Gujarat Fluorochemicals Limited. He did his PhD from St. Petersburg State University, Russia. He has 15 years experience in quality assessment and quality control, research and development. With this introduction, I will invite Dr. Rathore to deliver his talk.
Thank you, Dr. Oma, and it is really pleasure to speaking with you and heard about you. And I really thanks to CSMCRI and security teams they invited to us for such wonderful presentations, listening, and really it is very fantastic to us. And definitely we are not in the membrane area. We are definitely producing some fluoropolymers, but we have to plan move in the membranes in futures. So basically, my objective that's so I'm audible to all or not?
Yeah, you are audible.
Yeah. So basically, I'm brief about the future of fluoropolymers in green hydrogens and fuel cells. Actually. So little bit I'm telling about the Gujarat Fluorochemicals Limited actually. So actually, GFL Gujarat Fluorochemicals is headquarters in Noida. Definitely, it started in 2007 in Dahej plants. Now it is the largest industries, fluoro industries in the world. It comes on 3-number position in the global. Initially, it's producing the fluoropolymer, fluorosterol, refrigerant, and chemicals. And plants was in Dahej, Ranjit Nagar. So now we have some other plants in US, China, sorry, not China, Morocco, and Germany. So it is little about the GFL, and it's our integrated domain expertise. So it is our growth of companies definitely. So we are producing like fluoropolymer brands, PTFE, PFA, FEP, PVDF, fluoro additives, and others like that. So I come into the actually green hydrogens, which I heard about some conferences, and definitely we are also moving in this direction. Our organizations also want to lead in this area. So we know that our Honorable Prime Minister announced about India's green hydrogen hubs by 2070. Why we need the green hydrogens at now? Green hydrogen is basically it's produced by the water electrolysis. Definitely, it's a splitting of water and converted into the hydrogen and oxygen. And it's majorly uses in the fields of fuel cells electrical vehicles (FCEV), which is the largest growth in the world right now. At present, only the I think 16,000 FD EV globally, but by 2030 it will be approx 15 million FCEV will be produced. So it's of course making India a global hub for green hydrogens will help the country transition to clean energy and meet the net zero target by 2007. As you know, that India spends approx 160 billion of foreign exchange every year for energy imports. These imports are likely to double in the next 15 years without remedial actions. So India has set a target to produce 5 million tons of green hydrogen by 2030, next decade. The government plan to add approx 175 gigawatt of green hydrogens by 20 in energy sector. This will help to meet the Indian renewable energy approx 500 gigawatts. So it's our next 10 because assumption targeted like that 2030 5 million metric tons per annum, 2040 12 metric tons per annum, and 2050 70 million metric tons per annum. So I think it's the major players of green and hydrogen and fuel cells. As we know that I think everybody know about it. This is the Reliance, GAIL, NTPC, IOCL, and LNT. In this, definitely there are a lot of protocols, lot of regulations involved in this areas. So strategy, roadmap of green hydrogens, incentive for using a low carbon hydrogen to displace, mobilization, investment in production, infrastructure and factories, providing strong innovation support to ensure critical technology reach commercialization soon, establish appreciate certification, standardization and regulations regimes. So we know that this slide is very important to us when we are moving to green hydrogens, because we know that membrane is quite expensive and we are producing green hydrogen. So it's by using membrane it is quite expensive. It's 4 to 5 USD per kg. And the plan is to get less than 3, either $2 per kg. So as on today, approx 81% hydrogen produced by the alkaline electrolytes. There is no needs of the membranes, and only the 11 to 12% proton exchange membrane electrolytes used for this purpose, and the rest of other solid oxide and other fuels electrolyzers. So it is a very critical challenge in the Europe. As per European Union's green hydrogen schemes, mostly moving to the alkaline electrolyzers because of membrane and of course cost of green hydrogen. So it is challenging to industries how to survive and how to go ahead in this direction, because so this is the generally this is the electrolyzers of water techniques, PEM, how much, and alkaline water electrolysis, solid oxide, and other water electrolysis on that. No doubt, is fuel cell. If we come into the fuel cells, definitely PEM will be used 88%, and the rest of solid oxide and molten carbon fuel cell, it's quite partial contribution in this account. So the current economic model based on the consumption of the energy sources as coal, oil, and the natural gas lead to the problems of environmental and pollution in greenhouse effect. We know that, so that's why we are moving, and globally are moving for this direction, no doubt. In order to realize the sustainable development of the humans and relationship between man and nature, develop green energy such as wind energy, hydro energy, solar energy, biomass energy, and geothermal and ocean energy, it has become a topic of great concern to all countries in the world. Hydrogen energy is a clean energy that can store waste energy, promote the transformations from traditional fossil energy to green energy. So it is the energy density 140 mg/kg, 5 times of the oil and 4.5 times of the coal. So it is regarded as a sub-diverse energy revolution in the future. Hydrogen fuel is different from the common lithium battery because you know that alive lithium-ion battery is also made from the fluoropolymers. And in this direction, in the currently some problem facing the EV electrical vehicles, all I know that, and world major players Tesla is planning to move green hydrogen by 2024 because of some drawbacks of the EV. And they are moving to the green hydrogen. Same as other EV manufacturers, they are also announced that by 2030 they are moving to completely green hydrogens. So it's the basic scenario of the market for the automobiles and as well as other energy sectors. So the stack is the core of entire systems, battery system, including composed of membrane electrodes, bipolar plates, as well as current collectors and plates sending rings. The materials of the membrane electrodes are proton exchange membrane, catalyzed gas diffusion layers. So the durability of these components and materials determine the service of life and adaptability of the stack. So in the recent years, hydrogen fuel cell technology research has focused on stacks by bipolar plates, control technology, etc. So it's the basic benefits of the fluoropolymers for green hydrogen. That's the proton exchange membranes produced from the fluoropolymers. It's basically technology tetrafluoro TFE monomers polymerization with the different others monomers and produce just as like a PSA ionomers, then it's converted into the films, PFSA films. So it's the Nefian equivalent. Definitely Nefian membranes is quite expensive, and no doubt it's no replacement we cannot say right now. But there are many competitors are making this working on this direction. But as per my survey, and it's alternate not available to cut Nefian. So these membrane also critical component for hydrogen chemical energy into electricity emissions. So fluoropolymers are used in coatings, sealants, films in a range of green technology applications. So the protect solar panels, wind turbines against harsh weather, insulate carbonate and wiring against electricity and extreme temperature. For there we are using fluoropolymers. Fluoropolymers are used in the lithium-ion battery components in electric vehicles, allowing conductivity while providing safety thanks to their unique of the properties. So actually, why GFL opening is some two more companies, GFCL Solar and Green Hydrogen Limited, Products Limited, and another is GFCL EV, electrical vehicles. So this is definitely the subsidy of 100% subsidy of Gujarat Fluorochemicals, GFL, and we are moving to EV and green hydrogen also. So we, in this regard, we have collaborated with CSMCRI for protein exchange membranes to use in the green hydrogens and fuel cells. So the research is of course going on, and definitely it is long-term projects. So we are trying to complete it as soon as possible. And I think Dr. V.K. Sai know about it and the technology regarding of membranes, which we GFL has been collaborating with CSMCRI. So this is our overall scenario of our organizations. So we are looking finding such of alternates for that purpose, which will be suitable to GFL, and of course is based on the fluoropolymers, because we are making the fluoropolymers. So we are looking such partners those work on the fluoropolymer definitely and develop the products based on the fluoropolymer, not in the membrane, maybe other also. We are really happy if someone collaborates like that. So I request to Dr. BK Sai if he is someone, he gives some comments on this, may in this regards. Thanks to all.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Rathore. With the support of ONGC Energy Center, developed fluoropolymer-based cation exchange membrane, which is equivalent to Nepean membrane regarding durability, stability, conductivity, permeability, all the aspects. And permeability is much less in compared to Nepean membrane, because there is weakness in the Nepean membrane. That membrane is getting excessive swelling at high temperature, and that's why fuel cell efficiency reduced at high temperature in the Nepean membrane. And we are not getting permeability is very huge. It may be hydrogen permeability or methanol permeability or any kind of permeability. So that reduces the fuel cell efficiency. But our membrane, there is a silica nano clusters in the membrane that works as water storage, water reservoir, and membrane retained its conductivity in dehydrated condition at high temperature. So that membrane was developed by this institute, CSMCRI Bhavnagar, in 17 and patented. We submitted the US patent in 2018 with support of ONGC Energy Center. US patent has been granted. And now we are under negotiation with Gujarat Fluoropolymer Limited for the transfer of patent rights. ONGC and CSMCRI will be the partner of this technology. Okay.
Yeah, thank you. So, yeah, someone, if you have any questions, I'm not related to membrane. Definitely, I'm related to polymers, mainly in fluoropolymers. So, if you have some questions regarding to polymers or fluoropolymer, then I can definitely reply to you. And definitely, little bit survey about the green hydrogen fuel cells. Yes, Mr. Dhaval, Dr. Vishal, please.
So, yeah. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much for the nice presentation and the portfolio or the work done by the Gujarat Fluorochemicals. Sir, I'd like to know about your stand on these fluorochemicals.
Yes.
Because if you heard that in the European Union 2019, they have banned some of the fluorochemicals. And recently, you might have heard about that some of the environmental groups also been lodged a complaint, and there was and they were asking about the MSDS of the fluorochemicals, and other than that, the hazardousness of this fluorochemicals. So we got to know that UE is going to ban these fluorochemicals in future. So what is, as a fluorochemical company, what is your stand?
Yeah, definitely what you said, it's I think you heard about the 2019 2019, but we have already stopped such chemicals which banned by the we are exporting approx 90% material to US and of course Europe, Japan and UK, and 10% in India. So we are making all fluoropolymers. Yes, I agree with you. You are correct. There are certain chemicals USFDA, European Union has banned. We already follow. We are following global regulatory for that, and definitely I appreciate your questions. That's particularly you. That's C8 and C9, and of course C4, C6 chemicals which banned to the industry. As well as I think you listen some refrigerant gases leaking from R22, that's SCF222, which used in the ACs. Now it has been also replaced. So we are very much aware about it, and we will take care your input.
Thank you, sir.
Is there any questions? I think there is no questions from audience side. So we will thank Dr. Rathore for his presentation on fluorochemicals, future of fluorochemicals in green hydrogen and fuel cell application. And we thank Dr. Rathore for teaching us about the necessity of fluoropolymers to project it as futuristic materials. And we also thank on behalf of CSNCRI and SICRI for being a partner with us in the hydrogen mission program. And I am sure my colleagues from other CSNCRI families are listening this program. So if anybody is interested to do any research by using that polymers, so they can contact with you. And thank you once again. Now we will move to the next presentation. Our next speaker is Dr. Santosh Kumar Singh. He is presently working as assistant professor at Signador University, Delhi, NCR. Dr. Singh received his PhD in Chemical Science 2017 from CSIR National Chemical Laboratory. After that, he worked as JCS postdoctoral research fellow, University of Fukuoka, Japan. And then he worked as visiting researcher, Central European University Technology, Czech Republic. And after that, he worked as technical leader, KPIT Technologies Limited, Pune. And after that, he worked as senior postdoctoral researcher at University of Fukuoka, Japan, and with Professor Nakamura. And since 2021 December, he is working as assistant professor at Signador University. He has published 35 papers with high impact factor, having citation 1300 plus and H index 80. His main research area is advanced material and surface engineering, material electrochemical energy research. With this introduction, I will invite Dr. Santosh Singh to deliver his presentation on endo carbon catalyst surface variability control ORR. Over to you, Dr. Singh.
Thank you, Dr. Uma, for a nice introduction. So, and good afternoon, everyone. So here, like, am I audible to everyone clearly?
Yes, you are
okay. Okay, that's great. So here I'll be talking about the fundamental aspect of the nitrogen doped carbon catalyst, which is one of the most promising material can be utilized in the energy technology like the fuel cell catalysis. Because I believe that unless we understood every aspect of the catalyst mechanistically or fundamentally, this technology cannot be realized in the real system. So I'll be talking about fundamental aspect, and maybe next talk will be here more about the technology aspect of the catalyst by Dr. Vishal. So my talk will be about the nitrogen doped carbon catalyst surface wettability control the ORR activity. So this is related to that, and let me just remove it. Yeah. Yes. So if we see the fuel cell technology currently, so for the sustainable development of this fuel cell technology in different aspects, like for the automotive industry or the stationary applications, it can be realized only if we have a very high performance and the durable catalyst, which can be utilized in these technologies. So in that sense, to develop high performance catalyst is one of the most important area in the electrocatalysis nowadays. And there are multiple catalysts has been explored, and we know that the platinum is till now the platinum based catalysts are the best known ORR catalysts for these technologies. But there are multiple problems associated with this as well, like durability, agglomeration of the nanoparticle during the operation and all. So but if we can develop a catalyst which is totally free from the metals, so that can be one of aspect where we can get the high durability and the performance. So after the discovery of this nitrogen doped carbon materials by Livingdai et al. Group, it was like it has been projected that it has a high high capability or high potential to be utilized in these technologies. And many researchers and many development is continuously being done in that direction. And after the discovery of this nitrogen carbon materials by Livingdai group, so it was always a suspect, it was always a question that there is a three kind of nitrogen exist in this nitrogen carbon materials, that is pyridinic, pyrrolic, and graphitic nitrogen. So a question comes that to get higher activity, we should know that what is the active site, so that we can make an exclusive catalyst. We should be having the that particular dope nitrogen. So there was a question like among the pyridinic, pyrrolic, and graphitic nitrogen, which is the most active center. So that mystery was solved by this Nakamura et al. Group, where they have prepared the model catalyst, where they exclusively doped the pyridinic nitrogen in the graphite and the pyrrolic and the graphic nitrogen, and they clarified by the electrochemical studies that the pyridinic nitrogen is basically responsible for the higher activity. And so if you want to develop a catalyst based on the nitrogen carbon materials, the carbon materials should be having pyridinic nitrogen higher amount, so that we can get higher activity. So it is not the I can tell this is not the only sole factor that pyridinic nitrogen presence will be bringing the nitrogen or carbon materials to the higher activity site, but there are multiple factors also exist which can regulate the higher activity of this nitrogen or carbon materials. And we have concluded one of the perspective that there are very big role of hydrophobicity, wettability of the catalyst surface. So I'll be talking about more in the next slides. So the problem, I'm going to talk about the problem of this nitrogen carbon catalyst. So this nitrogen carbon catalyst show very high activity in the alkaline medium when it is showing which is being used for the OR activity. So, it is very difficult to realize the technology development of anion exchange membrane fuel cell because the unavailability of the membrane, anion exchange membrane. So even though we are having very high activity out of this nitrogen carbon catalyst in the alkaline medium, but it cannot technology cannot be developed without the membrane. So in that sense, the problem with this nitrogen carbon materials is that it has very high activity in ORR activity in alkaline medium, but it shows very low activity in acidic medium. So that is the main question arises when we think of applying it to the proton exchange membrane fuel cell. So why this activity is showing very low activity in the acidic medium? So there are many controlling factors for this acidic medium activity. So if you talk about the counter ion effect, so we know that if you see the fuel cell reaction in the alkaline anion exchange membrane fuel cell in the proton exchange membrane fuel cell. So in alkali medium, this oxygen get reduced at the cathode, and the OH minus travels to the anodic side to the anion exchange membrane, and the water is produced at the anode side. So there is no problem of water accumulation at the catalyst side in the anion exchange membrane fuel cell, which does not block the active sites. But however, in the acidic medium, what happens? So basically, water is produced at the cathodic side, and this water get accumulated at the active sites. And along with the water, most of the ions, like sulfate ions or chlorate ions, these also get accumulated, and they block the active sites in the pyridinic nitrogen containing catalyst. So this is how this mechanism works here. So if you see here, just a minute. Yeah, so if you see here, most of the time what happens in the acidic medium, so this pyridinic nitrogen, which is the active site here, that get blocked with the counter anions, and that restricts the first reaction of the oxygen reduction reaction, that is the absorption of oxygen over the pyridinic nitrogen. And during the reduction process, this pyridinic nitrogen, which is converted to the pyridinium ion in the presence of acid, that convert to the pyri-NH, and this is the first step of the oxygen reduction reaction. So this is the one problem which controls the activity, and it is also well known that in the acidic medium, this pyridinic nitrogen converts to the pyridinium ion in the presence of H plus ion, and this pyridinium ion is highly hydrated in the presence of water. That also restricts the higher ORR activity out of this nitrogen doped carbon materials. So how we can improve the activity? So we know the problem nowadays, with the printing nitrogen, that it is having counter anion effect and the hydration effect. So to remove this counter anion effect and the hydration of these active sites, if we can introduce the hydrophobicity to the active sites, then it can remove the water molecules and also accelerate the absorption of oxygen during the catalytic reaction. So we used the similar concept to prove this point. So for proving our concept, we took one bottom-up catalyst or model catalyst that was 110 phenolphthalein, which is having two printing nitrogen here, and that we adsorb over the carbon surface, and that catalyst was utilized for the oxygen reduction reaction. So here we can see in the presence of nitrogen, when we applied the reduction potential, different reduction potential, and there was no change in the pyridinium ion peak we observed. So this pyridinium ion peak remains same after the application of even after the application of potential in presence of nitrogen. But however, when we put oxygen saturated solution there, so there is a generation of peri-NH species we have observed. So that is the oxygen adsorbed peri-NH. So this is the most important reaction in the pyridinic nitrogen catalysis. So where pyridinium ion gets electron and the oxygen adsorbed to the surface, it converts back to the oxygen adsorbed peri-NH, which controls the kinetics of this reaction. And this we also proved with the DFT calculation by taking the different dielectric constant, where dielectric constant of 2 and 5 is hydrophobic. However, dielectric constant 78 corresponds to the water, that is hydrophilic environment. So if we see the potential difference when we take the different 78 dielectric constant and this dielectric constant 2 hydrophobic one, so the energy barrier is very high in that case, in the hydrophilic case. So we support our result that the hydrophobicity is responsible for the adsorption of oxygen, and it also triggers the formation of conversion of peri-NH plus to peri-NH, because oxygen cannot be adsorbed over the peri-NH plus, which we have seen in the XPS analysis, that when the peri-NH plus species is there, so there is a possibility of oxygen adsorption is very less. So how there is a possibility we can see here from the DFT calculation, also from the homo-LUMO gap, the electron is being transferred from the oxygen to the peri-NH plus, and it is converting back to the peri-NH. So this is the this study shows that this concept of hydrophobicity works well in the model catalyst. So next comes when we talk about the technology development. So we should be thinking of the real catalyst development. We should be in the powder form. So we tried to develop some catalyst in the same by following the same model, and we prepared two catalysts here. One is we call NRGO, which is stacked graphene layer, nitrogen graphene layers, and it is having hydrophilic in nature. And however, we have also prepared by following soft template method that is having cage structures. So these cages are porous structure is there, and which is porous, which is creating surface tension to the water molecules, and it creates hydrophobicity. So when we both the materials we have synthesized by following the similar method and similar condition, so that the chemical composition of this catalyst should not be changed. And the chemical composition and chemical properties of these materials we have checked by the Raman analysis and the XP analysis, where it has shown the amount of pyritic nitrogen and the graphic nitrogen is almost similar in both the cases. So the catalyst is having similar chemical properties, but it has different physical properties like surface tension of water. So this is what we have confirmed from this study. And when we utilized, so this after the development of this catalyst based on our previous model, when we utilize for the oxygen reduction catalysis in the alkaline medium and the acidic medium. So here we can see in the alkaline medium, as I told, this catalyst, nitrogen or carbon catalysts are very high active in the alkaline medium. So it is, which is reflecting here, which is showing very close activity to the platinum and nitrogen graphene and the cage energy, like that is a hydrophobic and hydrophilic case. But however, when we employ it to the acidic medium, so the here we can see the case Dinargio hydrophobic catalyst is showing very close activity to the platinum. However, with the similar property chemical composition, the hydrophilic catalyst is showing very low activity. right? So what is the reason behind it? So that we have already anticipated that the hydrophobicity is responsible for these things. But how the hydrophobicity controls this reaction, so that we have that we did study by the different methods. So further we try to confirm that how this hydrophobicity controls the wettability and the counter ion effect. So for that we took the ACM EPMA measurement of this like NRGO hydrophilic and hydrophobic catalyst in the by immersing in H2SO4 solution, and we mapped out the sulfur to carbon ratio. So here we can see the sulfur to carbon ratio is very higher in the case of NRGO, and which shows that the sulfur is basically attached to the carbon surface here, and like which is responsible. We can say that counter enhance effect. Counter enhance are adsorbed over the carbon surface, and because of high wettability of this nitrogen carbon materials in RGO case. So further, again, we try to confirm that the role of hydrophobicity, and when we use this catalyst, kind of porous catalyst, so the morphology get intact in the solution form or not. So we did this analysis, the confocal microscopy analysis, by using different kind of dye, that is hydrophilic FITC dye and the hydrophobic FM464 hydrophobic dye. And here we can see the NRGO is which is hydrophilic one. It is get completely submerged in the water, hydrophilic environment of the hydrophilic dye. However, the caged NRGO is showing that caged structure is remain intact under the solution condition as well. And we try to map out this hydrophilic and hydrophobic part of this catalyst. So we can see here the hydrophobic FM464 has shown the distribution over the hydrophobic part of the graphene, and the FITC, which is hydrophilic, which is green color, that is the hydrophilic part of the catalyst is remain map out. So by this technique, we can confirm that is like hydrophilicity and hydrophobicity distribution of these two catalysts. So furthermore, so as I told, when we are talking about the hydration of these molecules, hydration means the functional groups, like this nitrogen catalyst will be having different functional groups, that is energy, COH, OH, and NH groups is there. So if there is hydration, there will be interaction of water molecules there. So that we have tried to map it out by Boehm titration, where we can calculate the exact amount of hydrated functional groups. So where at the different pH values we can quantify the hydrated functional groups, and we can say which is having higher hydrophilicity and hydrophobicity in this case, because hydration is one of the effect which is responsible for the lower activity of this catalyst. So when we compare this BET surface area, XPS, and titration, so we can see here from the XPS analysis, we can see the nitrogen amount and the oxygen functional groups are almost similar in both the cases, in the hydrophilic and hydrophobic cases. However, from the Boehm titration, we have seen that the amount of functional groups which is getting hydrated during the titration is higher in case of hydrophilic, and it is lower in the hydrophobic case. It means that the accessibility of water is very less in case of hydrophobic case. However, accessibility is very high in case of hydrophilic case, hydrophilic catalyst. So this is how we believe that if the catalyst is highly hydrophobic, then the oxygen accessibility will be higher. And that is what responsible for the first system of the oxygen reduction reaction, that is the adsorption of oxygen over the surface. So next we tried to quantify, like if the cage structure or hydrophobic structure of the catalyst is able to capture the oxygen, then how much oxygen can be captured in the cages, and how we try to quantify by using some electrochemical methods here. And we found that the captured oxygen from the air in case of hydrophobic catalyst, has shown approx 12.95 into 10⁻⁵, which is and the oxygen is 50 into 10⁻⁵ moles per gram, which is almost 4 times higher than that of air captured, which is closely related to the partial pressure of oxygen in air. So based on this model, based on these findings, we have developed one model here. So what exactly happening in the catalyst layer? So when the catalyst is having hydrophobic cage structure, so most of the oxygen is getting captured from the electrolyte solution to the cages, and it is being supplied to the catalytic active sites regularly and after the reduction, and so these cages act as a pumping mechanism. So once this oxygen is getting finished, again this oxygen is getting captured from the electrolyte and it is being supplied to the active sites. So this is how this hydrophobicity plays role, and continuously we are getting higher activity out of it. So next things come that if we get oxygen captured in the cases, then how kinetically it is promoting the OR activity. So to confirm that, we did some mechanistic studies and we calculated the Tafel slope of these two catalysts in like hydrophilic and hydrophobic. So hydrophilic has shown approximately 60 millivolt per decade and 120 millivolt in case hydrophilic shows 120 millivolt per decade, and the case energy hydrophobic one has shows 60 millivolt per decade. So which means if the Tafel slope is different, means that it is following different RDS step for this reaction. So further, like we have tried to illustrate the reaction steps of this catalyst, and here we can see the first step is the protonation of this pyridic nitrogen, and the second one is the oxygen adsorb over the surface. So based on this Tafel analysis and we calculate the effective partial pressure of these gases in the case energy and energy cases, and we found that the RDS step for the hydrophilic case, which is 120 millivolt per decade, it is following the step 0. Step 0 is the limiting rate determining step in this case. And however, in case of hydrophobic catalyst, which is having 60 millivolt per decade, RDS step is like O2 to OOH adsorption over the surface, and its reduction to the OOH. So this is the third step is the RDS step for this one. So as I told, if the oxygen is captured in this in the hydrophobic cases, then how it is affecting the catalytic activity. So that a partial pressure effect has shown that the partial pressure of the caged energy, which is hydrophobic one, having almost 45 times higher partial pressure of oxygen in the catalyst, which means that it is continuously supplying the oxygen to the catalytic active site, and it is continuously this catalyst is running without any kind of effect, being affected by the hydration of water. So based on this understanding, we have proposed one reaction pathway for this oxygen reduction reaction, which follows the 2+2 electron mechanism basically in case of nitrogen carbon materials, which is hydrophobic one. And the most important thing is here to note that the reaction starts with the pyridic nitrogen, and the most important step comes here when after the generation of H2O2 after the result of 2 electron process, this H2O2 takes one proton from the peri-NH, and it converts to H2O2, and further this peri-NH get revitalized in the cycle. So if we see here, the peri-NH is giving proton, so there is a role of pK plays role. pK of this pyridic nitrogen plays very important role, and the electrolyte pK as well. So furthermore, we are trying to understand the OR activity of this these materials, the effect of pH over the OR activity by taking different kind of model catalyst. So recently we have studied, and we can see here. So when we check the OR activity of the 110 phenolphthalein drop over the carbon surface, so this 110 phenolphthalein, if you see the onset potential of this catalyst and versus the pH of this electrolyte, so at nearby 5 pH, it shows deflection point, and after that it follows the 59 millivolt per pH slope. So what the question comes here, that why there is a deflection point at 5 pH. So that is a big question here, and that deflection basically comes from because if you see the pK value of the 110 phenolphthalein, that is also comes in the range of 5. So we basically anticipated that this deflection is basically because of the 110 phenolphthalein pK value, which is responsible for the deflection point, and it always depends on the pK of the electrolyte. And we derived this equation, and we have tried to explain that why there is a 59 millivolt change in the slope when we are taking about the acidic electrolyte, and when the pH of the pK of the electrolyte is higher than the pK of this catalyst. So these are the recent development we have done in the case of nitrogen carbon catalyst. So if we can develop a very strong understanding of the mechanism of this carbon catalyst, so I believe that we can make we can bring it to the level of platinum, and it can be like the total platinum free system can be realized in the future for the fuel cell applications. So in summary, what I can tell, so what kind of improvement can be done in the case of nitrogen carbon catalyst to get the higher activity. So hydrophobicity, I can say that hydrophobicity of this catalyst controls the counter anion approach to the active sites, which keep the active sites fresh for the further catalytic reactions, and also the peri-NH plus, which is stabilized by the hydration of water molecules, by the hydration of water molecules. So that could be prevented by the introduction of hydrophobicity, and the bulky counter anions is one of the biggest reason why this pyridinic nitrogen is showing very low activity. And the onset potential changes according to the pK of the acid and base like solution. So here I would like to thank you, and I would like to acknowledge here Shivnadar University, where I am currently working as an assistant professor and running a lab which is Electrochemical Energy Research Group, and CSIR for giving opportunity during my PhD, and JSPS and Raman Chapak Fellowship. So if there is any question, I can answer here. And yes, Dr. Vishal, yes.
Yeah, Santosh sir, thank you very much for the nice overview and the importance of hydrophobicity and hydrophilicity in the overall catalyst. So I just want to know your opinion on this pH dependency. Whether the pH dependency overall activity is only restricted towards the pyridinic nitrogen, or it will be applicable for the all other types of nitrogen also.
See, as I told, like in the initial time itself, like there are three kind of nitrogen: pyridinic, periodic, and graphitic. It is already proved that the like pyridinic nitrogen is highly responsible for the higher activity. So most of the catalysts which is being developed nowadays, they are mostly exclusively having higher amount of pyridinic nitrogen, but the pK value or pK value of this pyridinic nitrogen or periodic nitrogen or graphic nitrogen is responsible for the change in the activity. So it will apply in all the cases, even though like if you are developing a catalyst which is having functional groups like COH or OH, which is responsible for the change in the activity. So in that case also pK is the most important criteria for getting higher activity.
No,
So
I mean to say that in most of the catalysts you may not get mostly only pyridine nitrogen. There may be some other different types of nitrogen also will be present. So how they will react to this pH dependency catalytic activity, whether it will not hamper your overall understanding of this pH dependency.
yes, yeah. So just take an example of graphic nitrogen, right? So if you take graphic nitrogen, so pK value of graphic nitrogen will be different than the this one than pyridic nitrogen. So that graphic nitrogen pK will be determining factor for the higher activity or lower activity in the acidic or alkaline medium. And also like if you take the graphic nitrogen itself, that will be also protonated in the acidic solution, and there will be counter anion effect will be working there. So it's not only restricted to the pyridic nitrogen.
Okay, okay.
Yes.
Other than that, one more question on the oxygen enrichment or maybe enrichment in the to study about this oxygen enrichment in the pores and all. Hydrophilicity, you are talking about hydrophilicity and hydrophobicity. Along with that, is the pore structure and pore size distribution also matters in creating the more oxygen enrichment?
Yes, yes. So see, the pore structure, hydrophobicity basically will be controlled by the pore size and distribution. So hydrophobicity means it is aerophilic in nature. So if it is aerophilic, it will be water loving. So air loving, sorry. So yeah, of course, this distribution of pore size and the distribution is responsible for the oxygen capturing. So main thing is that how you are tuning the hydrophobicity of this catalyst surface.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much.
So I can add like there is two ways to tune the hydrophobicity. One is the physical way, you can do some surface techniques or surface modifications to get the hydrophobicity, and one is the chemical modification. So hydrophobicity tuning by surface modification will be more effective than the chemical modification, because there will be interference of chemicals will be higher in case of chemically modified hydrophobicity.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
We thank Dr. Santoshi for his nice talk on surface modifications, technically hydrophobic modification of catalysts for greater oxygen capture. Now our next presenter is Dr. Vishal Mahesh Davale. He is presently working as scientist at CSIR. He did his PhD on electrocatalyst in the year 2015 from CSIR National Chemical Laboratory Unit. Then he worked as postdoctoral research fellow at Tokyo Institute of Technology, Tokyo, Japan. He also received Mercury Fellowship from University of Birmingham, England, UK. Then after that, he joined as scientist C. He is having more than 35 publications to his credit. With this brief introduction, I will invite Dr. Vishal Davale to present his work.
Thank you, madam. Thank you very much for this nice introduction. So, with the slide is visible and audible?
Yes, yes. Your slide is visible and audible.
Yeah, thank you. So, I like to thank the organizer for giving an opportunity, and this is the best event iConnect, where we are all covering all the aspects, all the components level development of the fuel cell. In respect to that, Dr. Bhatt already given us so much of good introduction, which reduces my burden in giving some of the introduction about the fuel cell, where he has already discussed about the importance of the electrocatalyst, membranes and other parts. So here I'm going to talk about the electrocatalyst development, mainly focusing on certain different type of electrocatalysts, which has a different types of applications and different types of importance in the fuel cell. So the talk I'm going to start with this. Yeah. So if you look into the benefits and challenges of the electrocatalyst so far, if you see over here in the left hand side, where you can see that you can start with the platinized carbon. You can see the state of the art electrocatalyst as a platinum supported on carbon. Then it has certain problems and challenges listed over here. You can see over here. So I'm not going in more details over here. From supported on carbon, people have started with the formation of the alloy catalyst, where the platinum has been coupled with a different transition metal to improve the electrochemical activity. But there are certain limitations for the alloy catalyst also, despite of better catalytic activity, having the leaching out problems of the transition metals and all, and overall the stability is in concern over here. Other than that, the next generation of electrocatalysts, where the core shell catalyst been reported by the researchers, where the inner core of the particle itself they have taken out and put the very cheap transition metal electrocatalyst transition metal, and which covers the thin layer of the platinum shell, which overall tunes the electrical catalytic activity of the shell, and significantly enhancing the activity and the stability we can researcher expected with this core shell type of electrocatalyst. But there are some challenges with the core shell electrocatalyst, like a difficulty in maintaining the shell thickness and the continuous shell formation on the cheap transition metal is a tedious task. And furthermore is the scalability and another issue. Apart from this, the recent trend we have seen is nano frame like a structure, where you can see the open architecture structure, which has different types of beneficial activity for in comparison to all other reported electrocatalysts, starting from the PCC, alloy, and coaxial structure. So I'm going to talk mainly about this open nanoframe structures and their advantages and some of our recent findings on these nanoframe structures. So if you look into these two recent articles, which triggers the research area or development in such kind of nanoframe structure. One was the science paper in 2014, which where the ignition been started for such kind of nanoframe structures. So if you see over here, these are the nanoframe structures been started with the PT nickel, and eventually you can leach out the nickel from the core as well as from the walls, and you will end up with the open architecture structure. which then we can support it on a different types of carbon material. This kind of material gives a benefit and improvement in the activity. You can see over in the F graph, the compared to the PTC and PTC, platinum supported on carbon, that is state of the art catalyst. You can see the improvement factor. You can see almost close to more than 30% improvement in the performance in compared to state of the art catalyst. So other than that, this the activity can be noted over here. This performance been tested, reported over here at a very onset potential where the actual reduction reaction starts. The oxygen reduction reaction starts. That's a kinetic region over here. With that kinetic region itself at close to 0.95 volt, the OCV is close to around 1 volt for the fuel cell, for the practical fuel cell, and where we are starting at 0.95 potential, the just initiation of the oxygen reduction takes place, and you can see the improvement in the activity is almost more than 30%. So it has a beneficial advantages of such kind of electrocatalyst in the fuel cell activity compared to the state of the art PTC catalyst. So along with that, there are some other literature. You can see this right hand side, the supported. This is one nanoform structure, nanocase structure, where they have prepared the platinum nanocase structures by de-alloying method with the of palladium, which gives a very controlled shell of platinum and formation of the very opening. Also, we can see over where the actual de-alloying takes place. So such kind of open structures also been reported with the de-alloying technique. And if you see the mass activity and specific activity over here, it's a tremendous improvement in the activity of this cubical nanocase structures. So looking into the time restriction, I will go through my own work. So another 5 minutes I have. So our own results, you can see we started with the copper platinum nanoporous structure, where we have started with the copper as a copper cage first, and then we started de-alloying this copper by controlled reduction galvanic displacement reaction to get such kind of open frame structures. So you can see the same kind of nanoparticle of nanocase structures at a different viewing angle. We can see over here. You can see the very open architecture network and the connectivity. Also, you can see the arms of this PT copper alloy structures. So these open architecture structures, when we utilize for the overall catalyst, this has been utilized in the for the alkaline conditions. Is the copper was there, so to avoid the leaching out of the copper, tested in alkaline condition, you can see the 2.9% fold improvement, and in the mass activity as well as specifically, you can see 2.5 fold improvement compared to the state of the art catalyst. So taking advantage of all these things, we have gone for the certain different further analysis of this material. You can see over here listed in this table. The stability also you can see in this table, before and after exerted durability test. Hence, it can be seen that the kinetic and the onset potential, the thermodynamic potential, and the kinetic behavior are better in case of nanocase structure. So this was the another case study where we studied about the iron platinum porous nano capsule structures. You can see the very distinctive porous network of this FEPT nano capsule structure, which is synthesized with the modified polymer process. The first we use the template like a silica. The silica has been modified with the surface has been modified with the PTDA to create some cationic network on the silica surface, and then this PTFE nanoparticles can be supported over here, and sequentially you can reduce. Once it get reduced, you can have such kind of particle decoration on the silica particles, but these are not connected. So to connect this interlink these particles from this step to this step, we do some certain modification, certain protocol that is called supercritical treatment. In this supercritical treatment, where the actual distinct liquid and gas phase do not exist. So we'll have a very good connectivity over here with the between the two particles, and it's like a BDN network gets formed, and it gives the internal strength to the network. And eventually, if you leach out this silica which is inside, you can see from the transformation from this to this. So overall, it's a hollow nano capsule can be formed, and you can see the dark field imaging over here. You can see the porous network structure of the FEPT. So this material is the importance of this material being listed over here, which I already told. If you see the PTC electrode catalyst, we can have a very thicker electrodes in the fuel cell system. And if you use such kind of nanoporous structures, nanocapsule structures, you can reduce the thickness with the similar weight loading of the platinum. And mainly important thing over here with this nanocapsule structures has a different sizes. We are done with the different sizes also. And with the different sizes, we can expect the different size of the interfacial vacant spaces, which also can be used for the better water management and better mass transport during the fuel cell application. So it has a multiple advantages of such kind of nanocapsule structure. So looking into this SEM, you can see over here the PTC conventional PTC same PT3 PT loading of 0.3 loading. You can see the thickness of around 10 micrometer. And with the same PT loading at the cathode side, you can see this is the capsule structure, the cross section of it. This is the same thing over here. You can see the difference in the thickness of the catalyst here. So we can avoid so many other problems in the fuel cell, like mass transport problems, the diffusion resistance problems also can be taken care from this such kind of nanoframe structure. These are the carbon free system also, so we can avoid the carbon corrosion in the system. So the last slide, I have 1 minute. So this is what the advantages of FEPT system. This 300 and 500 stands for the different sizes of the capsule. You can see over here, with increasing the size of the capsule, you can see the performance is also got improved with the mass activity and specific activity compared to the commercial PTC capsule. So in case of the ME fuel cell testing itself, you can see the difference in the 300 and 500 capsules, the sizes difference. You can see at the same RH condition, you can see the blue curve and the black curve, the different size of the capsule from 300 to 500. The mass transfer improvement is can be seen. Along with that, if you see with the same nanocapsules of 500 size, with the different RH condition, the performance is got improved from the 90, 70, and 50. You can see the decrease in the performance. The performance can be improved like anything. So overall, you can see that this capsule can be used at a low RH conditions also, as well as it can also give us a clear-cut indication about as the capsule size increases, the vacant spaces between the interfacial capsules can be used for the better management of the mass as well as the oxygen. So diffusion resistance also can be reduced, and the oxygen partial pressure get increased with this one. So this is the last one, conclusion. The higher mass and specific activity we have observed with respect to PTC because of the nano capsule structure, where we can utilize the inner and outer shell of the inner and outer cavity of the nano capsules, and number of active centers can be improved, and overall the utilization of the platinum can be improved. The morphological integration, the scale up is still challenge. We are working on it. So, and the second thing, what I have talked about, the electrode thickness, which can reduce the internal diffusion limitations and the resistance and all other things. So I like to acknowledge for this work for the one is the iConnect for giving an opportunity. Second thing for the CSI and the SICRI for all the supports and infrastructure, and where I'm currently working, and the TITEC, the Institute of Technology, and Tanaga Academy of Science and Technology for the support of financial support. Yeah, thanks. If you have any question, I like to answer.
Yeah, Dr. Santosh.
Thank you, Dr. Vishal, for nice talk and giving so much information about it. So yeah, so I have a question about on the last slide, when you are getting the higher fuel cell activity out of this KG structure, platinum. So my question is that this mass diffusion or air like oxygen diffusion problem limitation is being controlled at the catalyst level only, or it is being controlled at the like GDL. GDL also plays very important role in that. And if it is like a contribution of GDL and the catalyst layer, so is there any way we can differentiate this mass transport limitation in both the cases? Like which is the limiting?
Yeah, thank you. For this particular graph shown over here, you can see this slide, right?
Yes.
Yeah, this particular slide where all the parameters are constant. The GDL, everything is constant. Nafan is a constant. All the operating parameters are constant. only change you can see over here is the difference in the capsule size. The PT loading is also same. The PT content in the capsule is same, 70% of atomic percentage, 30.
So you are not audible. I think there is some connection problem.
Yeah. Dr. Vishal, can you hear us? I think network problem.
I think he lost his network. Yeah.
Yeah. We thank Dr. Vishal Rawade for his nice presentation on electrobacteries for fuel cell application. Now we will go to the next speaker. Our next speaker is Dr. Gopal Ramadhu. Before inviting him for his lecture, I will introduce him with you all. Gopal Ramadhu did his MSc in chemistry from Rajasthan University in 2007, and then he completed his MTech in Polymer from IIT Delhi. After that, he completed his PhD in chemistry in 2018 from Charles University, Gujarat. Presently, he is working as scientist at Zeta from December 2018. With this brief introduction, I will invite Dr. Madhu to present it. Over to you.
Thank you. It's introduction. Good afternoon to all. I am Gopal Madhu from CSI. I am working on electrocatalytic materials for various applications.
Hello?
Yeah. Hello. Check. Am I audible? Yeah. Dr. Vishal. Am I audible? To Santosh?
Yes, you are audible, sir. You are audible.
Okay, thank you. So in this talk, we will discuss about the transition metal-based electrocatalyst for HCR and OER application. As the economy evolved, the consumption of fossil fuel, such as coal, oil, and natural gases, increases, and result in environmental pollution and greenhouse gases also increasing. So addressing these issues, environmental pollution and greenhouse gases, they need to develop some alternative green renewable energy sources. So this hydrogen is the most efficient and secondary green and secondary sources of energy. So because the hydrogen is abundant in water and its use does not contribute to environmental contamination. Hydrogen may be generated through the water splitting. There are several methods to split the water, such as catalysis, electrocatalysis, photobiological, chemical production, etc. So all these water splitting methods, electrochemical water splitting is the most promising approach to produce the hydrogen and the oxygen because of its simplicity, the high efficiency, pollution free, and high purity. Electrolysis of water, just water decompose into its constitute hydrogen and oxygen due to an electric current being passed through the water. Then we see the cellular structure of electrochemical cells. There are two electrodes, one is anode where oxidation takes place and produce oxygen, and other anode where reduction occurs and hydrogen. The standard reduction potential required to take the water molecule to its constitute is 1.231. However, to initiate the water splitting reaction, there is a need of energy, external energy. So then, when we split So the required or potential will be more. To reduce the required or potential, there is a need of some catalyst, or we can say electrocatalyst. Then we talk about the oxygen relation reaction, then the ruthenium and iridium based electrode materials used as the OER catalyst. When we talk about the hydrogen relation reaction, then platinum contrast used as the most efficient HCR catalyst. However, there are the number of limitations, scarcity, highly expensive, and oxidation due to metals oxidize to high valence state over time, and stability, not too much stable. So, replace these electrode, precious metal based electrode. Researchers are working on different catalytic materials, mainly focusing on the transition metal electrode materials. Because the main purpose to select the transition metal based electrode, the rapid fabrication, excellent activity, low cost, earth abundant, and easy to modify. Number of reports are available. Different transition metal used as electrode material for oral water splitting, for OER and HER. But some limitation of challenges are still there. Less stability compared to the precious metals, catalytic efficiency degrades quickly, and poor mass transfer. So, our main objective is to the systematic study of effect of cryptoatoms, carbon material, electrocatalytic properties of transition metal, then fabrication of stable electrode material for water treatment, and development of bifunctional electrode material, which is worked in acidic as well as basic medium. Then in our work, we are focusing on the following electrochemical parameters. First is the ore potential. The main purpose to reduce the ore potential required to produce the hydrogen and oxygen molecule. Then Tafel slope, so the kinetic activity of the electrode material, so it should be less. Then charge transfer distance also should be less. Stability should be more. In our work, we are using more base material, metal organic framework. The main purpose to select more base material is the easy tuning and easy doping, also high porosity of the metal. Basically, we can play with the heteroatoms in organic materials, can replace the heteroatoms with other nitrogen, oxygen, and sulfur. That's why we are using the more base material. Then in part of cobalt, one material was prepared by the modified coated. Then after complete synthesis, the material was calcined at different calcination temperature. Which from 600 to 900, 600, 700, 800, and 900 degrees Celsius. After complete pyrolysis, material was well characterized by different analytical techniques to confirm the structure and morphology of the material. Then this material was used as the electrode material for HCR and OER applications, and the electrochemical properties were evaluated through CV and LSP impedance. In this, in case of OER, we found that the cobalt 900 material means material which was calcined at 900 degree Celsius temperature. So the good electrochemical activity means 210 milliwatt hour potential is required to achieve the 10 milliampere current density. With and then we can say cobalt 900 material has good activity as compared to cobalt 600, 700, 800. Then the electrochemical to see the electrochemical kinetic activity, the Tafel slope was calculated from a cyclic voltammetry, and in case of cobalt 900, the Tafel slope value was 128 millivolt per decade. So it has lesser value as compared to others. Then also we perform the LHD after 200 cycles of PV, and the outcome value are comparable with the threshold. Then chronoimprovement was performed to see the stability, and material was stable up to 8 hours without any significant loss of current density. Then in continuation of previous work, cobalt MOF 2 material was prepared. In this material, the organic moiety of MOF contain are different and contain less amount of concentration of heteroatom, basically nitrogen atom. So then material was prepared by reported and again calcined at different calcination temperature from 600 to 900. Then after complete pyrolysis, material was well characterized by the different analytical techniques to confirm the structure and property. Then that material was used as electrode material. And electrocatalytic activity was evaluated in acidic as well as basic medium, and it found that the cobalt 900 material showed the good electrocatalytic activity as compared to others, cobalt 600, 700, 800. And the 390 milliwatt power potential was required to achieve 10 milliampere current density with lower Tafel's law. The Tafel's law was calculated and found cobalt 900 has less value of Tafel's law, means it shows a good kinetic activity. Then the HCR was performed in acidic medium and found that cobalt 900 material here in HCR also shows the good electrocatalytic activity. In 340 milliwatt of potential required to achieve the 10 milliampere current density. Then we compare the cobalt MOF 1 and cobalt MOF 2 material. Then here we can say in cobalt MOF 1 material shows the good electrochemical activity as compared to cobalt MOF 2 materials. Means in cobalt MOF 210 milliwatt power potential is required to achieve 10 milliampere current density. While in case of cobalt MOF 2 it was 390 milliwatt. So also we can say percentage and concentration of nitrogen atom play the crucial role towards the electrochemical activity of the materials. Then the electrochemical activity which cobalt MOF2 was evaluated from C. For this, she performed a different scan that from 1 milliwatt per second to 5 milliwatt per second, and found that the cobalt 900 material has more active electrochemical active surface area. Then in third one, nickel-based material was prepared. In this material, there are more contain 3 electroatoms with sulfur, nitrogen, and oxygen. So then material was again prepared by the reported route and calcine at different calcination temperature, and very characterized by different analytical techniques. And from SCM image, you can clearly see the graphitization of the organic moiety with increasing temperature. Graphitization of carbon increases. When we compare the nickel 600 and 700, then we can clearly see that 600 has more organic moiety. 700. Then we compare the 700 and 800 materials, then we can clearly see that the graphitic material, more presence of graphitic material in nickel 800, and also the historical structure of nickel nanoparticles, and the metallic nature of nickel nanoparticles was confirmed by the XRD, and the graphitization of carbon organic moiety was confirmed by the Raman analysis. Then TM analysis, we performed the TM analysis. We found that the 4 cell types, means nickel nanoparticles are well covered by the graphitic layers of carbon materials to provide the stability to the materials. After that, material was used as an electrode material. In OER, we found that the nickel 800 materials have good electrocatalytic activity. The 330 milliwatt power potential required to achieve 10 milliampere current density. And while we talk about the 50 milliampere current density, then 420 milliwatt potential is required. So nickel 800 materials have good electrocatalytic activity as compared to nickel 700 and 600. Then the Tafel's law was evaluated, calculated from the LSV as well as from impedance spectroscopy. And in both the cases, we found nickel 800 material with less value of Tafel's law, means good kinetic activity of the nickel 800 material. The electrochemical active surface are calculated by performing the CV at different resistance from 5 milliwatt per second to 50 milliwatt per second, and the CDL value are calculated from a non-kinetic region, and on the basis of CDL value, electrochemical active surfaces are calculated and found that the nickel 800 has more active surface as compared to nickel 700 and 600. Then chronometry was performed to see the stability and found that the material was stable up to 48 hours without any significant loss of current density. On the basis of these results, we can conclude that all the materials of the good electrolytic activity. However, when we talk about our potential, then cobalt-based material, so the good activity with lower potential provide more current. While we talk about the stability, then the nickel-based material are more stable. So now we are working to prepare biometallic materials for efficient activity towards the HER doing. Thank you.
I think Dr. Santosh, you have some question. Hello, am I audible, Dr. Santosh? Dr. Vishal?
Yes, ma'am. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you very much for the nice presentation. So, I'd like to know about the whether you have done any kind of quantification of this.
We have performed TDS analysis.
Sorry.
TDS, energy dispersive action. Hello.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, we have done TDS analysis.
Okay. Yeah, yeah. Oh, you have done GC analysis.
No, EDX, energy dispersive X-ray.
Okay. No, you. I was talking about this oxygen evolution study you have done, no, some gas evolution.
Yeah.
So I am asking about the quantification of those things.
Quantification of for the oxygen inhalation for the hydrogen. Yeah, no, I didn't do. For materials, I have performed EDX analysis. But we don't have just facility FTL this connected to the potential.
Okay, 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 okay. Thank you, thank you.
Okay.
Hello. Dr. Santosh, I think there was some network problem. So we thank Dr. Gopal Ramanadu for his nice presentation on transitional electrocatalysis for HCR application. Now we have completed all the 7 lectures in this iCEN-73 event. Now vote of thanks will be given by Dr. Santosh Kumar Bhatt from CIT. Over to you, Dr. Santosh.
Yeah. Good evening, ma'am. It's a pleasure to be part of this event. So and also a pleasure to deliver the vote of thanks. So it was a very important event. So we were all happy to be part of this event, and also the inspirational address given by Director CSMCRI Kannan Srinivasan to talk about the hydrogen scenario in the country, and also the importance of membrane electrolytes for energy devices. There were also talks on membranes for various energy sectors by Dr. Uma Chatterjee. It was very inspirational to understand the various facets of membrane electrolytes for various energy devices. There was 2 important talks to cover the entire gamut of materials on one from Dr. Vishal and Dr. Santosh, which gave us the importance of electrocatalysts for fuel cells and other energy devices. And there were also talk on for the industry partner Dr. Rathore on various fluoropolymer and what is the importance of fluoropolymers in hydrogen sector. So we I thank all the speakers for this to participate in this event and make this successful. And also not last but not the least, the speaker who gave a talk on HER was also very important. Thanks again, Dr. Uma, for organizing this successfully, and thank you, everyone.
Okay. So on behalf of the organizing committee, myself and Dr. Santosh, we sincerely thank the organizer of iConnect event who has given us this opportunity to arrange for this program, and we are very happy to be part of this program. The session is concluded here. Thank you. Thank you very much for your participation. Thanks.
Yeah, thank you.
The meeting is ended here.
Yeah, we can now.